with it, but that can change week to week, Logan.
Yeah.
Very quickly. But we do have to take another quick break. Be out at Boone Pickens at 6 o'clock tomorrow because it is Big 12 play. Doesn't look like it's going to be raining at this time tomorrow, Logan.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully it is for us. So we will take a quick break, but we do want to thank another one of our sponsors at OSU Communications. Not sure where to park? OSU Communications has got you covered with parking tips and bus schedule information. We'll be right back on OSU Student Radio KXUI, Sunlink Channel 112.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Just sorry I didn't recognize it, and I just, hope that out of this, we'll be better. The pain that people went through, the pain that people shared with me as this happened, the tears that I saw, it hurt. And the way I felt is nothing compared to the way they felt.
Welcome back to One on One on OSU Student Radio KXUI, Sunlink Channel 112 live on Facebook and YouTube as well. As we saw right there, we have plenty of NBA stuff to get into, Logan, but we'll start with the negative news. Mark Cuban, do you buy that he is truly remorseful?
I buy that he is wanting to change the culture of the Mavericks and that he truly is sorry for what happened, but I don't buy that he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, that's a lie.
He has said himself he's the most hands-on owner in all of the NBA, but he just missed that. That went over his head somehow. I don't buy that. For those that don't know, last spring sometime, Sports Illustrated issued a article really taking down the Mavericks culture in the front office, which was just horrible if you read the article. Former team CEO and president Terdema Usuri, I think is how you pronounce his name, he did atrocious things. There was just a terrible culture. There were multiple incidents involving too much graphic stuff for TV. But I think Mark Cuban is taking the right steps. I think he did a good job going on the jump. Urban Meyer could learn a thing or two from him on, how to at least seem apologetic in an interview. He was fined, I think, $10 million. Not fined. He agreed to donate $10 million to charities to aid women in the workplace and empowering women in the workplace and sexual assault in the workplace. But it's not enough. That was not enough of a punishment by the NBA. They could have suspended him. Legally, they can only fine him $2.5 million. So they kind of agreed for him to do this $10 million deal. But he should not be allowed to be at any Mavericks games until December. He should not be allowed to be at the team facilities until 2019. He should not be allowed in there until January 1st, 2019. Because this was atrocious. It went on for too long, multiple years, and it's a shame that it happened. I'm glad he's trying to fix it, but the NBA did not do enough, which it's kind of the first time I'm really saying that about the NBA. I thought they were ahead of the curve on like the Donald Sterling stuff and stuff like that, but I feel like they dropped the ball on this one.
Yeah, as you said, donating the $10 million to women's organizations. Urban Meyer, let's see who else. Mark Cuban, Rick Pitino.
Yeah.
We're on to you. We know that when you are so powerful and you're involved in every little thing and you're such a great person, a great owner, a great coach, and then you come out and say, I didn't know that was going on. It's a lie. We're on to you, and you've lost all respect. Mark Cuban, to be honest, didn't have much of my respect to begin with, but no respect now because he absolutely knew. When you look at the investigation they did, interviewing hundreds of employees, looking over thousands of texts, that is an overwhelming amount of evidence. And Mark Cuban, I don't think you should be able to take ownership away from him, but you're right. $10 million, $100 million, I don't care. He needs to serve some sort of suspension or have something taking away from him outside of something monetary.
I agree because, I mean, there's not an easy number that's not outrageous to find Mark Cuban before it really hits him financially. But he loves this basketball team. He was the crazy guy when he first bought it. He was getting fines for being too crazy in the stands. He says he's the most hands-on guy. That's where you can take something away that would hurt him.
Yeah.
To show him that this was serious and that he did something wrong, don't let him be there. And I mean, I just don't think they did enough on this one.
It's an unfortunate situation. I agree with you. They didn't do enough. But some lighter news. Jimmy Butler wants out of Minnesota.
That's not lighter news for Chris Notch. He's not here today.
No, that
he
is.
Actually, he's probably happy.
Yeah.
I think he's tired of the Jimmy Butler saga.
Break down this stuff with me in Minnesota because you're my basketball expert. I know that Jimmy Butler's had problems with everyone along the way.
Yep.
Why does he want out of Minnesota?
From everything I've read, everything I've heard from people that know more about the NBA than I do, he doesn't like Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, really. He has a problem with Andrew Wiggins' work ethic, his heart, his love for the game, and I think I heard he thinks Karl Anthony Towns cares too much about numbers. But Jimmy Butler's, like you said, he's had problems with teammates everywhere. I think this was a good experiment, but on paper it looks great. In reality, people don't mesh well all the time. They gave up a lot for him. They got 55 games out of Jimmy Butler last season before he went down with the knee injury and then came back probably prematurely to his own detriment. But they gave up Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and Lauri Markkanen, and those guys kind of seem to be what the Bulls are building around, those kind of three guys, especially Lauri Markkanen. But this does not look good. It kind of paints the picture of chaos that is the Minnesota Timberwolves, as they have been since 2007 or 8, whenever they lost Kevin Garnett.
Very, very dysfunctional.
Yeah.
They are up in Minnesota.
And, today they're even saying people are calling them, asking about Jimmy Butler trades, and they're like, nah, we're not trading him. Like, he's already come out and said he's not going to re-sign with you. And to not even field trade calls, because you can get something. And I think they've kind of backtracked on that, and they've kind of come out and said, we'll take calls, but yeah.
All right, so let's assume that they're starting to take calls.
Okay.
Where is Jimmy Butler at this time in 2 months?
Minnesota. I don't think a trade gets worked out that quickly. I just don't, especially if he won't commit to an extension. And like the Knicks have come out and said we're not going to trade assets for a guy we can get in free agency.
Yeah.
That was on his list.
Leave it up to the Knicks to do something stupid.
Yeah.
Shocker.
The Clippers, I don't think they have the assets the Timberwolves want. They don't have a ton of draft picks. I don't see them making a trade with them. That's another one on the list. And the Nets, I don't think the Nets are going to make another trade like they did in 2000, whatever that was, whenever they traded for Paul Pierce.
2012, I think.
I think so, when they just gave away everything. They're just now getting their picks back. They're not going to trade that away for a couple months of Jimmy Butler maybe like the Timberwolves did this year. I really can't pin him down anywhere exactly right now. Obviously, we'll hear more and more as time goes on who's in, who's not in on this Jimmy Butler sweepstakes. But if I'm the Knicks or even the Clippers, I put together what I can. Because you saw this with Paul George. Paul George said he wanted to go to L.A. He wasn't going to sign anywhere else. He gets dealt to Oklahoma City. He falls in love with the city. I'm not saying Jimmy Butler's going to do that with wherever he goes, but he's in OKC right now. He didn't even meet with the Lakers, who he was for sure going to sign with 2 years ago. So I mean, you gotta strike while the iron's hot with guys like this. I mean, we might see with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard said he wanted to go to LA all last season. He might end up in Toronto. I'm not going to say he is because I have no idea what he's thinking, but I wouldn't be surprised because guys don't like to play for 3 teams in 3 years. Or in Jimmy Butler's case, it would be 4 teams in 4 years. You know what I mean? It's hard to find consistency like that.
So if you look at the teams that he wants to go to, the Knicks and the Clippers and what was the other team?
The Nets.
No, they all suck.
The Nets, Knicks.
They all have one thing in common. They all suck.
They do.
Why in the world would he want to go to the second team in New York, the first team in New York?
Yeah.
They are just awful. They have been for 25 years, and they have the worst ownership in professional sports.
Yeah.
Or the Clippers, who no one even thinks about in LA, especially now that LeBron's there.
Yeah.
Why those 3 teams?
The Knicks one, we've heard about this for a long time, but Kyrie Irving and Jimmy Butler are reportedly wanting to team up and play
That makes a lot
with
of
the New York
sense.
Knicks. So that's why I think the Knicks are on the list. The Nets, I can't figure that one out. Like, who does he want to play with on that team? D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie. Like,
No.
I wouldn't want to play with any of those guys.
No.
But in the Clippers, I can kind of get that. Maybe he has a relationship with the owner who kind of seems like he's more on top of it than the previous owner of the Clippers was. But I can't, like I said, I can't really pin down why he'd want to go to any of those teams.
I think the Clippers should pack up and go back to Seattle. I mean,
they could go to Seattle. They could go to Vegas. There's a lot. They don't belong in LA. LA does not need 2 basketball teams, especially when one's the Lakers.
yeah, you don't need another one there, especially now that LeBron's obviously won't be there forever. But that leads us to another lovable loser. Not so much anymore, but they've been bad for a long time.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia 76ers hired Elton Brand as their general manager. Logan, he's 39.
Yep.
He has been the general manager of their
G
G
League,
League, not D League anymore, their G League team for 1 year. He retired 2 years ago.
Yep.
What the heck?
I think it's because he's a former player. Honestly, like he obviously doesn't have the business experience, but he has the NBA experience. He can connect with guys that are in the league, and I think a lot of guys are consultants or stuff like that. Jerry West, a player that turned out to be a great GM. I'm not saying Elton Brand's going to be the next Jerry West, but
That's a stretch if you were to say that.
I'm not going to say that.
Okay. I get you.
I'm not Skip Bayless out here, man. But anyway, I think they brought him in to kind of bring in, when they bring in a guy in free agency, they have a player to talk to as the general manager. And I think a lot of NBA guys find that somewhat comforting, someone that knows the business, knows how it works. And, I mean, they obviously trust him enough. They started him out in the G League, and I think the plan was to, kind of build him up through that G League team, let him be the GM of that for a couple of years, then bring him in some other role with the 76ers. But that process kind of got accelerated when their former GM's wife went off on Twitter, trashing the team, which was probably was that the craziest story of the summer for all sports?
I'm sure we could find something that's more crazier, especially on a local level. But as far as professional sports goes, that was pretty insane.
That was just so far out there. Like, I think the Sixers still really don't know what they're doing. They're trying. They could have hired Elton Brand a week after, they fired Hinkie.
They waited way too long.
They did. They missed out on the draft. They missed out on free agency. They had their coach running both for a while, which is a bad idea. You see that with Tom Thibodeau in Minnesota right now, as we were talking about earlier.
Hiring Thibodeau for anything at this point is a bad idea.
I agree. Especially, the GM coach thing baffles me. Doc Rivers got his job taken away. He's just the coach now. Stan Van Gundy got fired. Tom Thibodeau should have his GM duties stripped of him. But anyway, that's just a bad idea in all of the NBA. Anyway, back to Elton Brand. I don't really know. I don't think this is a good move. I don't think this is a permanent move, I should say. He might be the interim. Instead of Brett Brown, he can just focus on coaching, and Elton Brand takes phone calls throughout the season.
So how many years will he be the general manager in Philadelphia?
I give him at least 2.
2 years, that's not a long time.
No, but they could give him an extension at any moment, If he has a good 2 years, he has like solid drafts and maybe makes a good trade, and that's all they need. They could give him an extension, but I think they're just waiting for one of these other guys on one of the other top GMs to kind of want to move on. You know, their contract may be ending soon. I think that's kind of their plan.
All right, we just have a couple minutes left here. Magic Johnson came out and said that Lonzo Ball is set for a breakout season after tweaking his shot.
Yeah.
Okay, Magic. Okay. I don't think you can tweak that shot. Tweak it all you want. Not a breakout season.
He's definitely not ever going to be Steph Curry as far as shooting the ball. But I think playing with LeBron, you can have a breakout year. I think all these guys are kind of set up for a breakout year.
I don't think that Lonzo's in L.A. for much longer. I really don't.
I think that depends on LeVar.
LeVar Ball cannot keep his mouth shut. He has not been able to keep it shut since LeBron signed.
Yeah.
I think LeBron's going to get in there and give him a couple more chances, and he's inevitably going to blow him, and it's over. And he will be sent to somewhere, probably the Nets.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe Jimmy Butler will play with him.
Maybe. So you don't think he'll have a breakout season?
I do. I think he's set up for a breakout year. Just because he's playing with LeBron. LeBron makes everyone look better.
You know, he can't make him look much worse. We do have to take our last break, but we do want to thank a couple of our sponsors at Oklahoma Christian University. Get your master's degree in accounting, business administration, theology, engineering, computer science, or cybersecurity from Oklahoma Christian University. Apply at oc.edu/grad. And Unitarian Universalist Church. If you are looking for a church home, visit Unitarian Universalist Church of Stillwater, located at 320 South Stallard Street. They offer an alternative spiritual path and welcome all races, religions, and beliefs. LGBTQ friendly services at every Sunday at 10:30. We'll be right back on Ocean Student Radio, KXCY, Sunlink Channel 112. You've been watching One on One. All right, welcome into One on One on OSU Student Radio, KXCY, Sunlink Channel 112, live on Facebook and YouTube as well. It's time for our NFL football segment, excuse me. Let's jump into some fantasy football stuff. Logan. All right, quarterbacks, who are you starting?
Hold on, give me just a second. I lost my notes, Reed. You threw me off. I wasn't ready for that.
Well,
who are you starting? You go first.
Okay. Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I came out. I had to issue a public apology on Monday. I had to, he surprised me again. Last week he had 30 points, and this week he's projected 20 points, but he is playing the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night. Start Ryan Fitzpatrick because the Steelers suck.
On defense, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe on offense this week.
They're just dysfunctional. Hot take, are the Cleveland Browns more or less dysfunctional than the Pittsburgh Steelers at the current moment.
Yes.
Whew, the legendary yellow and black. You have so many problems right now. You are down in your division to the Cleveland Browns.
That is a long fall.
All right, and I also want to start Patrick Mahomes because of what he did in Pittsburgh last week. He's playing San Francisco. Is he going to have that good of a game? I don't think so, but he's going to put up a lot of points again this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm starting Patrick Mahomes. I think he's going to have a big game. San Francisco is not elite on the defensive side of the ball, and Kirk Cousins. What's our theme this year for fantasy?
If you're playing the Bills, start them. Start all of them.
Yep, and that's the logic I have with Kirk Cousins right there. He had a good game in Green Bay this last week, so I mean, I definitely think the Bills are in. They should all retire at halftime.
Start the water boy. The Bills are awful. That's not a hot take. That's the truth, Logan.
Yeah.
All right. So at running back, you talked about Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
Okay. So let's start at running back. I want to start Todd Gurley because I think that once this offense gets going, he always gets his points, it seems like, in the second half of the game.
Yeah.
The Chargers, Joey Bosa is not playing. It doesn't sound like. I expect a big game from Todd Gurley, especially on the ground, maybe some touchdowns through the air as well for Todd Gurley and Kareem Hunt. Because, like I said, with Tyreek Hill, I said to start Travis Kelce last week because they're going to start getting more guys involved. Kareem Hunt hasn't had a big game yet. Watch for a lot of big game on the ground for the Chiefs on Sunday.
Okay, Alvin Kamara, he had a good game last week, obviously, but he's one of the top backs. It's like just plain simple. And I don't trust Atlanta's front. I think after, they did a good job, I think, against Carolina, but I just don't trust them. I think ESPN has them ranked the 25th defense against the run. So Alvin Kamara, easy, lemon squeezy.
I don't trust anything about Atlanta.
I mean, you don't think they've kind of figured it out at all?
They can't figure out to throw to one of the most elite wide receivers in the league in the red zone.
In the red, yes. But, I mean, they can score now at least. They get in the end zone. It may not be to Julio Jones, but they get in there.
Let them get up by 25. They'll blow the game.
Well, maybe. James White, they're playing Detroit. ESPN has them ranked 31st in defense as far as giving up running backs points goes. And he hasn't really had like a breakout game. He's had 11 points week 1, 8.4 week 2. I think this is a chance for him to kind of establish himself as one of the better fantasy backs this season. You want to jump into your receivers?
Yes, start Tyreek Hill. Just kidding. I'm not stealing your pick. I want to start Adam Thielen because why Logan? Because he's playing the Buffalo Bills.
He's playing the Bills.
He's projected 10.1 points. I think he's going to have a lot more than that on Sunday because everyone's getting points.
Yeah.
Everyone. Vikings by 90 because the Bills are just that bad. They had somebody quit at halftime, Logan. They are that bad. And Deshaun Jackson because he's playing the Steelers as well. He's only projected 7 points. He had a big week last week, scored on the first play from scrimmage. I think Deshaun Jackson has another big game. Maybe not as big as last week, but it'll probably get you 15 or 16 points.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Fitzmagic's out there doing Fitzmagic stuff, Deshaun Jackson's going to be good to go. Tyreek Hill, I mean, he's playing the 49ers. He's Patrick Mahomes. I think he's Patrick Mahomes' best friend. I mean, this dude, how many touchdowns does he have week 1?
Tyreek Hill?
Yeah. Do you have 2?
Yeah, 4, 3, I believe, and 1 punt return.
Yeah, and he had a touchdown last week. I think he could lead the league in touchdowns this season, as far as that goes. I mean,
I don't think you're crazy for thinking that.
Especially if this keeps happening, Tyreek Hill's in for a good season overall. And then D.D. Westbrook, kind of a sleeper for me. I think he's going to establish himself as the Jags' #1 receiver throughout the year. He's on my team. That's why I think he's going to be so good. But they're going to Tennessee. Tennessee gives up a lot of fantasy points to wide receivers. Let's see what they did last week. Last week they gave up 38.8 points to wide receivers, and they gave up 38.8 points in week 1 to wide receivers. And I think D.D. Westbrook's going to get himself at least 1 touchdown this week. That's why I'm going with D.D.
All right, now for my starting tight ends, Travis Kelce. They just spread the wealth. He's only projected 8.8 points. I think he goes above that, has around 15 or 16. He's going to have a good game. Him and Kareem Hunt are going to be the stars in Sunday in Kansas City. And Kyle Rudolph, why, Logan?
Because he plays the Bills.
Because he's playing the Buffalo Bills. Projected 6.3 points. Everyone's getting points in Minnesota on Sunday. Start every Viking.
I'm kind of taking Kyle Rudolph from you. Same reasoning. Can't
Real
really
original,
say much
Logan.
Else. I know. I can't really say much else. But O.J. Howard's my other one. Fitzmagic is going to get the ball to his tight end this week. Pittsburgh, like we've said, is kind of, I said they were more dysfunctional than the Browns right now, and I stand by that.
It's a solid take.
Yeah. O.J. Howard's projected to get 5.6 points. I think he's going to blow that out of the water. All right, Reed, who are you sitting at quarterback?
At quarterback, Marcus Mariota, because he might not even play.
Yeah.
He's questionable, but if he does play, it is not going to be pretty. Sit Marcus Mariota. He's projected 14 points right now. Not going to happen. And Phillip Rivers, because he's playing that Rams defense. Now, here's my theory. He's got Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters on that Rams defense now. They've played in the AFC West. They know Phillip Rivers. They have a good feel for Phillip Rivers. So he's going to have 3 interceptions on Sunday. He's projected 14.9. Set Phillip Rivers.
I agree with you. Set Phillip Rivers. The Rams are just too nasty on defense. They are too good. And Joe Flacco.
Who is elite.
He might be.
Got Super Bowl.
But he's playing my Broncos. And that defense actually might be elite this year. They started off good last year, but anyway. Joe Flacco he's in for a rough time. He's kind of gotten lucky these first couple weeks. He had 21 points week 1, 17 week 2. He's projected to get 13 this week. That I would even say less than 13.
I think you're probably right. And at running back, I want to sit LaShawn McCoy. He's projected 8, way less than that because he's not healthy either with a rib injury. And David Johnson because, good Lord, the Cardinals can't score any points at all.
Yeah.
He's projected 15.4. Set David Johnson.
I agree. Sit David Johnson and Tevin Coleman. I don't think Tevin Coleman's going to have that good of a game. He's kind of, he's had a decent season as far as fantasy goes for him, but I don't like him against New Orleans. New Orleans has done a good job not giving up a lot of fantasy points to running backs, so there you go on that.
All right, set Larry Fitzgerald. He, like I said, for the Arizona, they just can't score points, especially Sam Bradford plays. I would set him and set Mike Williams because of that secondary for Los Angeles.
Sit Keenan Allen. I know he's Keenan Allen, but the Rams defense is scary to me. And A.J. Green, I just don't trust Andy Dalton. I didn't think A.J. Green was going to have that good of a fantasy season anyway. So sit A.J. Green this week.
Set Antonio Gates because he did not play at all last week.
That's a good
He's projected 3.3 points this week. He's just too old. It's over for Antonio Gates. And Eric Ebron, he's projected 4.6. Not going to have a good week this week.
Yeah.
So set him.
Sit Austin Hooper. Again, New Orleans is good, not giving up fantasy points to the tight end. And Austin Seferius-Jenkins, I just have a feeling, not going to be a good game.
All right, we have less than a minute here. I'm going to ask you games. You tell me who's going to win. New Orleans at Atlanta.
New Orleans.
I agree. 49ers.
I'm in Atlanta. I lied.
49ers in Kansas City.
Kansas City. Go Chiefs.
Taking the 49ers.
Who would have
keep
thought
my
I
win
was the
streak
best
alive.
Chiefs fan?
Bills at Vikings.
Minnesota. That's not
Agree. Broncos at Ravens.
Broncos.
I guess I'll take Denver. I changed my mind on that. Chargers at Rams.
The Rams.
The Rams.
The
and Green Bay at Redskins.
Green Bay. Washington couldn't even score last week.
Well, hey, we'll see what happens. All right. Thank you so much for watching One-on-One. Slogan Mosier. I'm Reed Spencer. Thank you so much. We will be back on Monday at 2:30. Thank you to our sponsors. Get out to Boone Pickens tomorrow at 6 o'clock for the start of Big 12 play. You've been watching One-on-One on Ocean Student Radio KXUY, Sunlink Channel 112.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care.
It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you. I travel. My passion is teaching and traveling. In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. I just wasn't. One day in here, I put my foot down and I took 2 steps. And then we took 2 more steps. And before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
How are you doing?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom. School's going good.
Only slept through 1 class so far.
College was really fun for one day.
First day, crushed it.
Hi, Mom. I miss you. I already got called a high school kid. They're like, are you sure you want college? I'm like, yes, here we go.
I miss home a lot, but college is also really fun. More fun than home.
Hey, Mom, it's me. And I'm not dropped out yet, and my professors haven't kicked me out, and I was only late to 1 class.
Love you. On my heart. Guy. Thank you. Hey, Mom. Good to see you. Love you to pieces. Miss you already.
We're making it. We're still alive. No worries. First day of school. Woo! First day of class was brutal.
妈妈现在好，就是我现在现在是在我 OSU 的第2个学期，然后一切都很好，完成了我的实习，我接下来要开启我的第2段旅程，一切顺利。Go Bucks.
Hi, Mom. I'm studying hard. Don't worry. Going to class.
I just finished my first 2 classes of the day, and I'm done for the rest of the day.
Hi, Mom. Happy early birthday. You should be proud of me. I came to class.
Hi, Mom. I'll call you later.
Miss you.
You're the bomb.
Miss you, Mom.
Miss you back home.
Miss you.
I miss you. Love you, Mama.
Perfect.
There we go.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
Cast prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 100.
On this episode of Polk Report, we recap OSU's big win versus Boise State,
a look into the new soccer and baseball stadiums,
and a look into a unique bond between two Palm Squad teammates. We have all this and more on Polk Report. Welcome to the Polk Report. I'm Robin Hearn.
And I'm Thomas Fleming.
Last week, number 24 Oklahoma State took on number 17 Boise State as its first ranked opponent of the year.
Some of us made the right picks last week while others did not. But our own Brandon Doherty has the recap from the Cowboys game last Saturday.
In the first ever matchup between Oklahoma State and Boise State, the Pokes ended up on top with a 44-21 victory. This game featured big plays in all three phases of the game for OSU. Since 2013, the Cowboys have led the nation in blocks, and that showed this game as the block coverage team blocked two Bronco punts, both inside the 15-yard line, and one for a touchdown. But as the Boise State head coach said, the loss wasn't just about one thing in this game.
It wasn't one phase, it wasn't one thing, it wasn't one person. It was a combination of all three.
The Pokes offense, ran by redshirt senior quarterback Taylor Cornelius, was finally able to find a style of play that best suited all the talent on the team. Cornelius threw for 243 yards with an additional 65 on the ground for a total of 3 touchdowns. Star running back Justice Hill ran for 125 yards on 15 carries for 1 touchdown. In the air, Cornelius's favorite targets were wide receiver Tylan Wallace and Dylan Stoner, each with 5 receptions for a total of 173 yards and 1 touchdown. But it was Cornelius' ability to move the ball with his legs that really broke the Broncos' defense.
He's a legitimate barefoot 6'6". He takes 2 steps and he's over there at that podium. So he's a little bit deceptive in how fast he is because he's a big strider.
But points would be nothing if you don't have a defense to hold that lead. And the Cowboys' pass rush showed up big in this game with a combined total of 7 sacks amongst 4 players. And against a 4-year starting quarterback, OSU's defensive coordinator had the perfect pass rushing plan.
We had to get them off the spot, move them around, and our guys have gotten a taste of it now, so I think they're hungry for it.
And the Cowboys' defense ate well Saturday afternoon with a total of 10 tackles for a loss and 4 forced fumbles. Defensive end Jordan Brailford led the team in sacks with 3, while linebacker Calvin Bundage led the defense in total tackles with 12, including 1.5 tackles for loss. This win pushes the Cowboys up in the rankings from 24 to 15 and improved their record to 3-0.
Who was it that you picked again last week?
Listen, I got LSU though. I got LSU, so I was 3 for 2. The Big 12 went 5-2 in non-conference play this past week. The West Virginia-NC State game was canceled due to Hurricane Florence on Saturday. Our Big 12 analyst Tanner Kennan has more with a full recap of everything going in the Big 12.
Thanks, Robin. Big 12 conference play is finally here, and 4 Big 12 teams head into the weekend ranked in the AP Top 25. But before we get too excited, let's catch up on all the action from last week. 5th-ranked Oklahoma traveled to Ames to take on Iowa State in Week 3's Big 12 game of the week. Late in the first quarter, Heisman frontrunner Kyler Murray lets go of a bomb to Hollywood Brown, who gets behind the safeties and has a free run to the end zone. But the Cyclones would respond as Hakeem Butler breaks 1, 2, 3, 4 tackles on his way to a 51-yard touchdown. A tightly contested first half ended poorly for Iowa State as Oklahoma capped off a long drive with Murray finding Miles Tees for an easy score, giving the Sooners a 14-point lead going into the half. Iowa State would close the gap quickly as Hakeem Butler refuses to go down for his second 50-plus yard touchdown of the day. However, next Sooner possession, Trey Sermon stays on his feet and stays in bounds to get the lead back up to 2 scores. Fast forward to the fourth quarter. Iowa State going for it on 4th and 11. Matthew Eaton gives up his body and makes the catch to keep the drive alive. Last chance for the Cyclones as the Sooners bring pressure up the middle. Nolan, feeling the heat, lobs one up into the hands of Parnell Motley, and that's the ball game. Sooners win 37-27 thanks to another big-time performance from Kyler Murray. In other Big 12 news, TCU falls short against number 4 Ohio State after leading at halftime. Texas would not let last year's double overtime loss go unpunished, scoring 34 unanswered points to beat the 22nd ranked USC Trojans. Texas Tech wins a shootout against Houston as Alan Bowman throws for 605 yards and 5 touchdowns. I'm Tanner Kinnan, and that was your Big 12 recap. Back to you, Robin.
Thank you, Tanner. Be sure to keep an eye out on every single Big 12 matchup happening this weekend. Oklahoma State will host Texas Tech for their first Big 12 matchup of the year.
Inside Boone Pickett Stadium, fans will see the similarities between the two teams, and they're more similar than you think. Our own Josh Watson dives deeper into the comparison between the two schools.
Oklahoma State and Texas Tech have a long history of similarities, whether it be their finger pistol hand sign, Raider Red versus Pistol Pete, or the masked rider versus Bullet that rides his horse across the field when the Tech football team scores.
I've always wondered why it is that Texas Tech has the same hand signs and mascot as ours. I mean, not exactly the same, but they look really similar. Like, it's a cowboy, they have big old, like, facial hair going on. And even during, like, the games, they have a horse run onto the field just like we do.
Most people might not realize it, but Oklahoma State's Pistol Pete has been loyal and true to the Cowboys since arriving on campus in 1923. Texas Tech's masked Raider didn't come on the scene until 1936. Throughout the last 5 seasons, Oklahoma State and Texas Tech have put up huge numbers on offense, scoring at least 75 points in each game the last 5 seasons. With Texas Tech coming into Stillwater ranked number 2 in total offense and the Cowboys ranked number 6, this is a surefire shootout in Stillwater this Saturday.
Mascots aren't the only thing these two schools have in common. Both Oklahoma State and Texas Tech have been wreaking havoc on Big 12 defenses for years. And with both schools coming into this game ranked in the top 10 in total offense, don't expect much to change this week in Stillwater.
Yeah, there's sure to be a lot of points put up this weekend. Texas Tech right now is the #1 offense in the nation. They're averaging 624 yards a game, so they have a very high-powered offense. As far as OSU goes, they're the 6th offense in the nation, so there's sure to be a lot of points scored over there. Texas Tech is coming off a big win this weekend against Houston. They were down early in that game and came back late, so they have some momentum.
The Pokes defense will have to come up big this week in order to preserve their unbeaten record. For the Poke Report, I'm Josh Watson.
And I don't think there's a question that Pistol Pete's the better of those two Cowboys.
I totally agree. Aside from those similarities, these two powerful offenses will face off in Stillwater here Saturday night.
Well, be sure to stick with us after the break. We'll kick it over and take a look at the new Cowgirl Soccer Stadium. You're watching the Poke Report. We'll be right back.
I want to show you something. This is the money we could save by switching from fresh packed California crushed tomatoes to concentrated tomato paste.
I want to show you something too. I got a new door. Go take a look at it.
Nobody uses better ingredients than Little Caesars. Like fresh-packed California crushed tomatoes. Pick up a large, deep dish for just $8.
Pizza. Introducing Lincoln Black Label at Diffie Ford Lincoln. Designed to impress those with impeccable taste, Lincoln Black Label features a collection of interior themes and a host of exclusive membership privileges inspired by attention to detail and a love of automobiles. With Lincoln Black Label, you'll enjoy an extended premium maintenance plan that covers wear items or even remote vehicle delivery. Lincoln Black Label isn't about luxury ownership, it's about membership. Lincoln Black Label, exclusively at Diffie Ford Lincoln.
At ASAP Energy, our goal is to provide the best customer service for whatever our clients need.
My relationship with ASAP Energy came about in 2007. I was wanting to build a convenience store. I didn't know how to do it. I'd never been in the business. I just felt comfortable with Rick. And so I knew that I wanted to do business with a guy like that. Integrity, loyalty, and family. I would recommend that to anybody. Thanks for taking a chance on me.
At ASAP Energy, everything matters.
Where were you born? It's a question asked all the time. Because where you're from shapes who you are, inspires how you do things. And when that inspiration comes from a place this refreshing, this majestic, this... well, you get the idea. Coors Light, born in the Rockies.
Welcome back to the Poke Report. I'm Robin Hearn.
And I'm Thomas Fleming. Changing now from field to pitch, the OSU soccer team had an impressive outing 2 weeks ago, and Ivan Sinahong has more on the Cowgirls' trip up to Creighton and the University of Missouri, Kansas City.
The 20th-ranked Oklahoma State Cowgirls made a trip up north to Nebraska to face the Creighton Blue Jays on their third away game of the season. In this match, set pieces looks to be one of Oklahoma State's main strengths. After receiving a corner kick in the 27th minute, Grace Yoakum gave Cowgirls the lead when Kim Rodriguez found Yoakum unmarked inside the box. Less than 6 minutes later, Rodriguez struck a beautiful free kick in the top right corner, making it 2-0 for the Cowgirls. The scoreline remains the same for the rest of the match, ensuring a fourth straight win for OSU. The Cowgirls outshot the Blue Jays 28-13, proving to be the more dominant team. Head coach Colin Carmichael was delighted that the set-piece routine works again.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't scored as many set plays this year. Last year we seemed to score every game, but it was nice to get a couple. I thought we deserved to get a couple goals in the run of play as well. We had some nice looks, and their keeper made a couple of nice plays.
2 days after the win, the Cowgirls visit the Kansas City Kangaroos for its last regular season non-conference play. Early in the game, OSU put quite a number of players forward in an effort to break the Roos defense down. But the strategy bites them back as the Cowgirls conceded in the 16th minute through a devastating counterattack from the Roos. However, the lead only lasted less than 3 minutes as Haley Woodard bring the game back into balance with an exquisite goal from the left side of the box. And just like previous match, set pieces proved to be Oklahoma State's key to victory as Yoakum provides the winning goal in the 76th minute after receiving a delicate ball from Kim Rodriguez. The game ended 2-1 for Oklahoma State, and despite being down early in the game, Carmichael was relieved with how the team reacted.
You know, it was crucial because if the longer that game went and 1-0 for them, the harder it was going to be for us. So really important we got that goal quickly.
This win extended the Cowgirls' winning streak into 5 wins while improving to 7-1 this season. For the Poke Report, I'm Ivan Sitohang.
Thank you, Ivan. The Cowgirls are off to a solid start this season. And what do you think about it, Robin?
It's absolutely amazing. The Cowgirls are having one of the best seasons in recent years. Eamon Kerr has more on the performance in the new soccer stadium.
The Oklahoma State women's soccer team has gotten off to a fantastic start to its season so far. The Cowgirls are 8-1 and are off to their best start since the 2012 season. This fast start has earned the team a spot in the NCAA rankings as the number 18 team in the country. The only loss that the Cowgirls have suffered this season was to Illinois, where they lost 2-1 on a late goal from the Illini in the 86th minute in a hard-fought game. Head coach Colin Carmichael says that the preparation that the team has put in during the offseason has really helped them.
To us, it just starts with hard work. You know, our kids we've got a little thing where we don't want to be outworked during a game by any other team. We want to win the hustle stats. We want to outcompete other teams.
The hard work that the Cowgirls have put in has really showed on defense. OSU has only conceded a total of 5 goals this season and has 5 shutouts.
But just our mentality as a group, we want to be really hard to play against and really hard to score on. And we talked about that in preseason. It's a little bit of a carryover from last year. We just talked about not conceding so many soft goals, and this group have bought into that, and they take a lot of pride in not letting other teams score.
Cowgirls have really begun to make this stadium their new home, as they have yet to lose a home game this season. While at home, the Cowgirls not only play well defensively, but really turn on the attack as well. 13 of the team's 18 goals this season have come while at home. Senior forwards Haley Woodard and Marlo Zoller have been the driving force behind OSU's attack. The two have accounted for 8 of the team's 19 goals this season.
Zoller has been key for the Cowgirls' offense this season. She says that changing her approach to scoring has made a big difference.
I think that I'm just more focusing on my performance rather than getting goals. Last year I was super worried because that's what a forward is supposed to do, is obviously score goals, and I was just focused on that instead of trying to just perform my best and letting the goals come to me.
Zoller and the Cowgirls have a tough stretch ahead of them as they enter Big 12 play this week. For the Poke Report, I'm Eamon Curry.
Thank you, Eamon. Cowgirl soccer is playing Kansas State and Kansas on Friday and Sunday. They're looking to add to their 5-game winning streak.
After the break, we'll take a look at the unique bond within the OSU Palm Squad.
And a look into Oklahoma State basketball. Don't go anywhere.
The deli department at Homeland is Oklahoma's headquarters for party trays. Enjoy the time with family and friends at your next event, and let your neighborhood Homeland create the perfect fruit, deli, or cheese tray for you. The party planners at Homeland will help you choose the perfect party food, sized just right for your guests. Call us, stop in, or order online, and we'll make it ready for pickup on your schedule. Make your next party special with a party tray from your neighborhood Homeland. Good to be home, Homeland.
Love these things. Hilarious. I'm sorry, force of habit.
As long as you are you, it's Miller time.
Hi, it's Sam at Louis Grill and Bar, here to introduce our new menu items from south of the border. Come try our new poblano chicken tacos, or the ever-popular sriracha shrimp tacos. At Louis, where you come for the food, but stay for the fun.
It's hard to imagine my life before her, or a day without her. So much of what I take for granted simply wouldn't exist. She is the force that holds our life together. She is my everything, the center of my universe, from forevermore. The diamond, the promise. Available at Louis Jewelers.
I'm Randy Heights with 1077 The Franchise, and let me tell you about the HCG diet from New Leaf Wellness and what it's meant to me. Over the last year, I've dropped 90 pounds, and this has been a lifesaver, guys. I'm in a wheelchair, so I can't always get to the gym, and what's been incredible about this diet, when I can't work out, I still lose the weight. 90 pounds in a year is a lot for anyone, but for me, it's been a miracle. Why don't you give New Leaf Wellness Centers a call and see if they can't help you with a free consultation, or go online at newleafcenters.com.
Welcome back. Now we're going to take a step away from the field
and head to the sidelines. Two sisters from McAllister, Oklahoma are following in their mom's footsteps and are now members of the 2018 Palm Squad. Our own Kirsten White has more.
Being a member of the OSU Palm Squad is something young dancers dream about. Hallie Light, the captain of the 2018 Palm Squad, shares this experience with someone special, her little sister, Camry.
Sometimes I forget she's there. Yeah, all the time. But it's like really cool because like I can, make sure she has everything together. Yeah. Keep her in line. She keeps me in line too. So. She definitely keeps me in line. Yeah, no, it's awesome though. Pretty cool.
I have never had sisters on a team, and the Light sisters are special because they bring a very different dynamic, both of them. They're not the same type of a person. However, they talk alike, they walk alike, they move alike, but at the same time they have very different personalities. And so most of the time I don't even realize that they are sisters. They don't really talk or communicate other than through like eye signals to each other.
This will be Camry's first year on the squad, and Hallie's fourth. Camry says her sister is her mentor, always giving her advice.
Basically, just give it your all. Never hold back. Just be big. Just earn your spot. Earn your spot. Don't take it for granted because you can get it taken away real fast. Yep.
Hallie and her sister will be cheering on the Cowboys right here at Ben Pickens Stadium this Saturday against Texas Tech.
Hallie says being on the field in front of 50,000 fans never ceases to amaze her.
We explain to the rookies every year, like, you know, like when you step on that field, like you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like y'all were right, and like it's the same feeling every time. I bet you were freaking out. I was freaking out.
For the Poke Report, this is Kirsten White.
Thanks, Kirsten. Haley and Camry might actually have a third sister, Kaylee, and they say that if she tries out and makes the team, she'll be the third Light sister and fourth member of the Light family to be on the OSU Prom Squad.
In recent news, Oklahoma State men's basketball landed another top recruit in Avery Anderson on Tuesday. He comes in at 6 feet 2 inches, 170 pounds. He's ranked 77th in the nation and 8th in Texas. With the pickup, the Cowboys rank 1st in the Big 12 in recruiting and 9th nationally. With the Boone twins and now Anderson, assuming all three of them sign a letter of intent, all the Cowboy scholarships for the 2019-2020 season will be filled. Head coach Mike Boyd has been trying really hard to turn his program around in the past year.
Fortunately, with the good news comes the bad. Redshirt sophomore transfer guard Michael Weathers has been suspended from the team indefinitely following a grand larceny charge on September 9th. He was never able to play a game with the Cowboys because of the NCAA transfer rules, and he was in line to start this season after sitting out a year. It's a tough blow for the Cowboys, and they will look to fill the spot he's left while going on about their season. In other news, another Oklahoma State athletics program is receiving a stadium upgrade. Our own Lee Drake has more.
Allie P. Reynolds Stadium has been home to Cowboy baseball since 1981 and has been the site of 883 home wins for the Pokes. However, a powerhouse program needs a flashy stadium to stay ahead of its competitors. Therefore, Oklahoma State Athletics announced last spring the plan to construct a state-of-the-art venue to host the Cowboys for many years to come. The new stadium features a price tag of around $60 million and is expected to be complete by the 2020 season. The stadium will be the newest addition to the athletics facilities on the north side of campus and will be across the street from the Greenwood Tennis Center overlooking the hallowed grounds of LEP.
Behind me is the construction site of the new Cowboy baseball stadium. It will feature 8,000 seats, 13 suites, and a dedicated student section. The stadium to field proximity will also be much closer than LEP, as the first spectator row is only 30 feet from the batter's box.
The biggest upgrade, other than the capacity, will be the 2,000 square foot video board. The video board will be placed down the left field line, 330 feet from home plate. The internals of the stadium are also being severely upgraded, as the players will now have access to a 7,400 square feet locker room with built-in training facilities. The stadium will be such an improvement from the outdated LEP that some fans believe the stadium may have a far greater impact than some expect. So whether it be doubling the capacity, the improvement of the video board, the addition of the suites, or even the dedicated student section, it certainly seems like the OSU baseball program and Coach Josh Holliday will have a professional ballpark in their own backyard. For the Poke Report, I'm Lee Drake.
That's going to be one of the nicest stadiums there are.
Oh, definitely, Thomas. I can't wait for opening day when everybody can file in there and look and see the new stadium.
For all the information on Cowboy basketball, wrestling, cross country, and cowgirl golf, Haley Wood has information for you.
Thanks, guys. Cowboy basketball just revealed that their SEC Big 12 Hoops matchup game this year will be held in Gallagher-Ibo Arena on January 26th at 1 p.m.
versus South Carolina.
OSU fans can look forward to not only rooting for their Cowboys, but also rooting for the Big 12. Cowboy Wrestling just released their 2018-2019 schedule, which has 7 home duels, including the big rivalry duel versus Iowa. Cowboy Cross Country has some other exciting news. The Cowboys just moved up 2 spots in the national rankings. The Cowboys are now ranked 21 as they go into their Big 12 championship meet in Ames, Iowa. Cowgirl Golf is currently competing in the Annika International Tournament in Minnesota, and the Cowgirls look home to bring home a trophy as they're competing against 9 of the top 10 teams from last season. That's all I've got for you guys today. For the Cowboy Roundup, I'm Haley Woodard.
Thank you, Haley. Now continuing with Cowgirl Golf. The tournament ended yesterday with the Cowgirls finishing 11th and 12th, shooting 17 over par. Michelle Forsland and Stephanie Astrup led the way for the Cowgirls, both finishing 1 over par and tied for 29th in the player standings. It wasn't the perfect start to get the season rolling for this year's campaign, but the Cowgirls are ready to get back in full swing. The next tournament for the Cowgirls will be the Windy City Intercollegiate on October 1st and 2nd in Wilmette, Illinois.
From the putting greens to the dirt in the arena, Oklahoma State Cowgirl equestrian team is looking to start their season at the end of this month.
Our own Ryan Charles went to the facilities earlier this week to get the insights on the coming season.
The Oklahoma State equestrian team is coming off its 6th Big 12 championship in program history. The Cowgirls finished the 2018 season 10-4. Head coach Larry Sanchez says every time you can win the Big 12, it is special.
It's such an honor. The caliber of the competitors that you're competing against is so high that when you can come away with a victory, it's something special.
Sophomore Harley Huff is coming off an incredible freshman season. She went 11-1-1, nabbing 8 Most Outstanding Player honors throughout the season. She also was the Big 12 Horsemanship Rider of the Year and a first-team All-America selection. Her favorite part of the year was winning the Big 12 championship with her team.
It was just so cool being able to contribute to that win, and just pulling it out was really fun.
The Cowgirls are looking to build off the 2018 season as they prepare for the 2019 season.
Winning the Big 12 was great, but the equestrian team has turned their attention to this year, where they look to defend that title, but this time with a whole new set of Cowgirls.
Just west of campus on McElroy Road, you will find the Tatusik Arena, where the number 4 preseason ranked Cowgirls have been practicing all summer, getting ready for their first meet at the end of the month. Huff says she is trying to get better each day as they look forward to that first meet.
I for sure want to keep challenging myself and just trying to get as best as I can be.
Coach Sanchez says the Cowgirls don't have as many seniors competing as they did last year, but they have a lot of returning talent.
We've got All-Americans from last year that are back on the team competing this year.
The Cowgirls travel down to College Station on September 28th to take on number 3 Texas A&M for their first meet of the year. Their first home meet will be against the Baylor Bears on October 13th. For the Poke Report, I'm Ryan Charles.
And it looks like the Cowgirls will be working hard to defend their Big 12 title this season, and it should be coming up. Now, it's our favorite time of each and every week, our picks. I went 2-1 last week, no big deal. Don't want to boast, and Robin has the picks for this week.
Awesome, Thomas. I'm ready. So, A&M at Bama. Who you got?
Well, what Alabama was able to do last week against Ole Miss was disgusting, and I wouldn't expect anything else from the Crimson Tide this week against the Aggies.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be an easy win for Bama, so I'm definitely going Alabama on this one. Still trying to see what this quarterback situation is looking like. Now, College Game Day is going to be in Eugene, Oregon, as Stanford is at Oregon. Who you got for that one?
Well, Justin Herbert and the Oregon Ducks are no slouch on offense, but I got to give it to Bryce Love. There's a reason why they're one of the contenders for the Pac-12 Conference Championship this year, and I got to go with the Cardinal.
Oh, I definitely agree. Bryce Love is coming off an injury from last week, so I can't wait to see what he's going to do this week. Now, for the OSU game. OSU versus Texas Tech. Last week, sorry I went too Boise, but I'm back now. I think Oklahoma State's going to win this one. What about you, Thomas?
Yeah, I agree, Robin. Texas Tech has a talented freshman quarterback who's thrown over 1,000 yards in the past 2 weeks, but I don't think they've seen a defense like this, and I think the Cowboys will roll away by fairly comfortable margin by the end of this.
Yeah, I think as long as the Cowboys defense does what they did last week, this is going to be a great season for them overall.
Well, for Robin and myself and all of the crew, we want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a week for next week's edition of the Poke Report.
Oklahoma State franchise pregame show. Colby, Powell, and Donovan with you as always. And this week we are joined by our good friend Cameron Jordan. Cameron, glad to have you along with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Having fun up in Stillwater, per the usual. Donovan, it's a nice day for football. I thought it was going to be a little cooler, even a chance of rain, but it turned out to be just about perfect.
Turned out to be perfect for the Cowboys. We got a big game today against these Red Raiders, and couldn't have better weather.
Yeah, couldn't have better weather, which, you know, perfect for the Cowboys. Absolutely perfect for everyone. But also perfect for a guy by the name of Alan Bowman, who threw the ball 59 times a week ago. If you're planning on airing it out 60 times, you're hoping the weather is about exactly like it is now. Let me ask you this, Cameron. That game last week between Texas Tech and Houston, did that catch you off guard at all that Tech was able to win that game? Because I think the expectations for Texas Tech prior to the season compared to what people think of it today, I think people feel a little bit better about Tech than they did a month ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of people throughout the week who've been talking, saying that Tech may give OSU a little bit more of a challenge than they thought even Boise State was going to, and part of that is because of how well Alan Bowman played last week. I mean, he can sling it if he fits perfectly in Cliff Kingsbury's offense, and he showed that last week. I mean, as long as they give him the ability to throw the ball, which kind of like we've already mentioned, that weather today is going to allow them. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of numbers he can put up this afternoon.
Yeah, Donovan, obviously, you know, you played against Texas Tech. They've done the same thing for a long time. Spread it out, run it here and there, but they're going to try to sling it all over the yard. Quick passes, yards after catch is a big number that I'm looking at this week against Texas Tech. If you let these little receivers, I said little receivers, they got a couple guys on the edge that are 6'5" and 6'6". We're used to seeing the likes of Cameron Batson from your high school.
Exactly. Hey, he's with the Tennessee Titans now.
Yes, he is. He can play.
Yeah, he's a ball player, man.
But, I mean, it seems like Tech always has 2 to 3 guys who can take a bubble screen or can take a 4-yard slant and turn it into a 30-yard gain as they just get past the linebacker and get up the field. So for me, Oklahoma State defensively, I think it's going to look different than it did against Boise because Texas Tech plays offense in such a different way than most teams that you're going to see.
Yeah, and it's not your traditional spread. You know, Texas Tech was really one of the first ones to throw the ball around as much as they did. And, I mean, they're really good at it. They like those smaller guys like Cameron Batson inside. They went and got some guys, like you said, out on the edge who can go up and get those 50-50 balls. I can remember they had a guy by the name of Robert Jones, Joe Filani.
I mean, I think Jared Hicks was one of the guys. I mean,
how about Michael Crabtree?
Michael Crabtree. So, man, they've had some big-time receivers, and they do a heck of a job of getting them the football. One of the things that I remember studying about Texas Tech, and when I was in school, and I'm pretty sure it's the same way now with Kingsbury being there as well, they do what they do well. So they don't run a ton of stuff, but what they do run, they've run it over 1,000 times, and it's just so many variations that come off of a single play that they do, and they do it extremely well, and that's why they're able to have success as consistently as they do.
Yeah, and they had a lot more success during the Mike Leach era. Obviously, the big year where Crabtree makes the catch from Graham Harrell late against Texas to win that game. That was kind of the peak of Texas Tech's program. The Cliff Kingsbury era, it hadn't been as smooth in Lubbock. There have been rumors now. I mean, it seems like the last 2 to 3 off seasons we've heard, is this it for Cliff? Are they finally going to let Kingsbury go? And every year I've said, nope, the buyout's too big. Nope, the buyout's too big. Nope, the buyout's too big. We might be approaching that time where it's put up or shut up for Cliff Kingsbury. I think at the very least he's got to get this team to a bowl game this year. If you want to feel really comfortable as Cliff Kingsbury, you'd like to have 7 or 8 wins on the record at the end of the year. They already lost one in non-conference, and I'm not comfortable saying that this team can go above 500 in the Big 12 Conference. So how long is Cliff Kingsbury for Texas Tech?
I think at this point you're kind of on a game-by-game basis. I mean, there was a chance that he was going to be gone if they didn't beat Texas at the end of last season. I mean, that's how hot his season was.
That wouldn't mind to say this season.
It definitely, I think, guaranteed him at least another year down in Lubbock. And, I mean, the loss Ole Miss this year, you had people calling for his head right away as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how long Texas Tech fans and then Kirby Holcott will hold on and allow Cliff to whether he give him a whole season or if they're going to fire him mid-season if things do go south.
I think because of he's an alum of Texas Tech, and just, I mean, it'd be different if he didn't have the history that he had with Texas Tech. I think after a couple of seasons that he's had, if he wasn't so ingrained in what they do and so about the Texas Tech culture and all of that, you might see him out of there. But because, just kind of like with Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy, he's going to have a couple of losing seasons and a couple of big-time screw-ups before you can get him out of there. And it's not like Texas Tech is Notre Dame or Ohio State. I mean, they've had some success, but it's not like they're winning a ton of national championships and stuff. So let's keep the expectation just kind of in focus a little bit. If they win 7 or 8 games this year, I think you count that as a success. But if they win 6 and get to a bowl game and win that 7th game, I think he's still going to be there. And again, you always got to talk about the buyout, and that gets extremely steep when you talk about getting rid of coaches.
Yeah, it definitely does. Those agents earn their money with those contracts and those buyouts, keeping guys employed for quite a long time. But, to get to 6 wins, that would be 4 and 5 in conference for Texas Tech. I don't think that's unreasonable because in that bottom tier of the Big 12, you've got Baylor, you've got Kansas. We might even have to throw Kansas State in there, guys. They were down 21-0 to West Virginia, didn't cross midfield in the first half. I know that everybody loves Bill Snyder, and if they're going to figure it out, they're going to figure it out, they're going to figure it out. At some point, do we maybe just look up and say, this Kansas State team isn't that good? I mean, at some point we've got to go there if they continue to play the way they're playing.
Yeah, they have. I was kind of shocked today. Their defense played really well, and then David Sills caught 2 one-yard touchdown passes at the end of the first half, kind of pulled it away. It's just Kansas State's offenses seem to drop off, and it's kind of crazy that that same offense, not even a year ago, put up 45 against Oklahoma State. Now, I know that defense wasn't exactly the best last year, but kind of the drop-off from that to now they can't even score just seems kind of strange. So they may have to be in that kind of bottom tier of the Big 12 this year. And they're usually right around the middle and even sometimes near the top, maybe contending for this new Big 12 championship game.
I've seen Bill Snyder do it so many times, and even though they've started off rocky, not ready to totally get off of Kansas State yet. And I'm always one of those people. I'm always trying to see the good in Kansas State, in OSU. Everybody except that team down there in Norman because they got enough people praising them. But, I just think that, guys like Gary Patterson at TCU, Bill Snyder, those guys will make sure that they get, even if it doesn't start off right, because every year is different, and by mid-season, those things kind of get rolling, and He'll find somebody that can, run his own read and stuff like that. And of course, the defense and special teams will be up to par. So don't discount or put Kansas State out of the race just yet.
Yeah, I'm not ready to discount them. I look at what now. Obviously, you've got Oklahoma, West Virginia, TCU, and Oklahoma State. I think those are kind of your proven commodities in the conference. Your schools that have been there year in, year out. West Virginia to a lesser extent, but they've obviously got a ton of talent this year. It seems like everything's kind of coming together for West Virginia. I still think there's a chance we can see Kansas State beat one of those four. And if it's not West Virginia today, that leaves TCU, Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma. They got Oklahoma State a year ago. Kansas State's just that team, they kind of sneak up on you. They just very slowly, like Colin Klein, they sneak up on you, and next thing you know, they're past you. So that's a team to keep an eye on. Looking around the Big 12 a little bit more, TCU and Texas battling it out right now. Texas leads this game 10-6 after they just kicked another field goal. As I say that, Texas just gets an interception of Sean Robinson. Texas, they might have come to play a little bit of football. Did we jump the gun a little bit to write off this Texas team after they lost to Maryland? I know Maryland's a bad team, but when they lose to Maryland, it's like, okay, here goes Texas rattling off another 6-win season. If they beat TCU today, it's going to completely rewrite the narrative.
I think Donovan can probably attest to this better than either you or I can, but momentum in football is a game changer. When you get a little bit of momentum inside of a program, you string a couple wins together, you get more confidence. This Texas team that we've seen these last couple weeks has more confidence than I've seen in a long time down in Austin. And you're starting to see a little bit of you're starting to see all these recruits that are actually starting to make plays and they're starting to come together finally. Now, will it actually turn into anything? I don't know. We'll have to see when they actually face more of the top-tier teams of the Big 12. But TCU today, they're showing so far that they're up to the task.
Yeah, and Texas is always going to have athletes, and you talk about that confidence. Those guys get some confidence, like you said, and but it might take a little bit of time for them, and everyone's waiting for Texas to be good, and they really need to get back to that, and it looks like they're taking a step in doing that today. Don't want to talk too prematurely. TCU could rally back, and we could be talking about what kind of epic collapse that these Longhorns have, but for right now, they're doing what they need to do, and they definitely have the talent to do it, and I think it's good for the conference when Texas is good.
Yeah, that game's still in the first half. It's in the second quarter, about halfway through the second quarter. But Texas playing some good football. Kansas going back to being Kansas. Baylor's up 23-0. Although Kansas is about to score, they've got a first and goal down at the 5-yard line. So Kansas does have a chance to put some points on the board. Guys, Iowa State goes out. They beat Akron 26-13 this morning. Was this just an example of maybe weren't ready to play? I mean, I don't know what this could have been. I don't want to make Akron out to be one of the worst teams in the entire country at any level. Akron beat Northwestern a week ago. Akron can play a little bit of football. But the Iowa State team that pushed Oklahoma a little bit last week, I would expect more than 26-13 over Akron.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising because Akron jumped out to a 7-0 lead really early on a beautiful touchdown catch. And you kind of started thinking, okay, is Iowa State going to have a hangover week after dropping a pretty emotional game? And then, especially with all the events up there that have happened this week on their campus, it was a little bit more of an emotional game. But watching that game, Zeb Nolan kind of found a rhythm again, as similar to what he did against the Sooners last week, and kind of found his niche. And although they didn't score a lot of points, they still performed well down the stretch.
Yeah, it's just one of those deals. It shows you every week is different. And you saw that Iowa State team come out and do some good things against Oklahoma. And obviously with all the stuff that went on their campus in the following week, you have to go in there and you have to prepare. And you'd like to be a little bit sharper if you're an Iowa State team. You're supposed to beat Akron worse than 26-13. But, it's still a W for them, and they need to get back on track so that, the Big 12 can continue to rise in the eyes of the national spotlight.
And then the only other non-conference game in the conference this week, Oklahoma and Army. OU's a 32-point favorite. I've got to listen to 30 now, so it's gone down a little bit. But OU should just go put it to Army pretty good, get away with a win. Don't get anybody hurt, and get ready for conference play to begin next week against a pretty bad Baylor team. But then Red River rivalry, that's a mouthful right there. The Red River rivalry the week after that, and then it really heats up into conference play. Today's just a take care of business day for Oklahoma.
Yeah, definitely. They should go out there and have the second string in by the middle to end of the third quarter. You shouldn't see a lot of time from the starters, just kind of getting ready to actually get into the grind of Big 12 play. It should be a pretty easy game for Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, anytime you run that option, it's always interesting. Obviously, they have some great representatives of the university and of our country over in Army. But, I mean, Oklahoma still has to go out there and play, and Army will do some good things. The quarterback they have throws the ball a little bit better than a traditional option quarterback. So, you know, watch out. They should handle business, but don't discount Army to go out and do some things early on, and then OU to take this game over, probably.
Did you ever play any of the service academies while you were at Oklahoma State?
I did not.
I did not. I want to ask you what that experience was like, and now I can't do it. What was the experience like putting 80 points up in a high school game?
You know, I thought it was 76.
Donovan claims it was 76. News Channel 4 last night had him at 83. So
I think they might have counted the touchdown that we got called back. We got some things to clean up with penalties. So we got to take care of that over at John Marshall. We got a big game against Heritage Hall Chargers, defending 4A champion.
Number 1 and number 2 in the state.
Yep, should be a great game. Coach Andy Bogert, he's retired now. His son is the head coach, but he's got John Marshall ties as well. So a lot of familiar faces will be at that game on Friday, and looking forward to a really good battle.
Fantastic. This year Oklahoma State franchise pregame show brought to you by Seth Wadley Ford in Perry. Colby, Powell, Cameron, Jordan, Donovan Woods hanging out here at the garage in Stillwater. We're just on Knobloch, about a block south of the stadium, having a great time. The tailgaters are out. Everybody's having fun, looking forward to Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Let's go ahead and bring it back to this game. Talk about that Oklahoma State offense a little bit. Last week, Taylor Cornelius coming into the league, there were a lot of questions. No one had ever seen Taylor Cornelius play meaningful minutes against a good football team that Oklahoma State was going to have to play well to beat. Last week was that situation, and Taylor Cornelius answered a lot of those questions. And the number one thing for me, he took care of the football, which was a huge concern because against South Alabama, he threw that interception in the red zone that just kind of left everybody scratching their heads thinking, what exactly did he see on that one? Comes out last week, answers a ton of questions against Boise State, takes care of the football, and the quarterback run game was a nice wrinkle that they hadn't put on film until a week ago. So Taylor Cornelius, I think, will have, I don't know about more confidence from his standpoint, but he certainly has more confidence from the fan base and from all of the genius talking heads that talk about these teams all week long.
Yeah, I'm in the kind of part that I think kind of like you said, when he takes care of the ball, he's played really well. But at the same time, OSU special teams last week really scored 14 points in that game. If you take away those 2 touchdowns, it's 30-21. So ultimately, OSU's offense wasn't as strong as it with the 44 points. Now, he did play well last week. His ability to run the football, he rushed the ball more than he had completions last week.
16 rushes to 15 completions.
So it's
those
pretty...
are Donovan Woods stats.
A lot better than mine. A lot better than mine. But I think the thing, you hit on it. Kill that spider there. You know,
got it.
They didn't show the quarterback run game, and you know, I think that was huge in order for them to go out and have as much success as they did with it. He's obviously, like you said, a better athlete than a lot of people give him credit for. And big-time basketball player. They said he can do some Space Jam type things. Give a little plug there to LeBron James, Space Jam 2 coming out.
Space Jam 2.
But
the villain has to be MJ, right? If the villain's not MJ, I'm not watching.
Probably going to be Charles Barkley, huh?
No, it can't be Chuck. It's got to be Michael.
Come on now,
all
Chuck.
the Michael LeBron conversations. Michael goes from being the hero in the first Space Jam to the villain in Space Jam 2. Forget Taylor Cornelius. Space Jam 2, LeBron versus MJ for all the marbles. Don't even write a script. Have it be reality television.
Yeah, that'll be pretty good.
Get your 5, I'll get my 5, we'll get after it. As you were. I totally got distracted.
Yeah. But here's the deal, though. They didn't show the quarterback run game, and I think they were saving it for Boise State. And anytime you carry the quarterback in the run game, it makes it really difficult. And they did some great things, motioning those guys out of the backfield. But he carried the ball really good, and when I think Coach Yursich and Coach Gundy did a great job of protecting him. When you talk about him protecting the ball, play calling has a lot to do with that. And you saw they put him in really good situations, and he was able to protect the football. He's going to have to make some more plays in the passing game. But again, anytime all of those options are open, handing the ball to the best running back in the Big 12, maybe the nation in Justice Hill, you got those guys out there on the edge, and then you carry the quarterback in the running game. It's a lot of options, and it makes defenses cover every single part of the field, and when you can do that, you can have success offensively.
Absolutely. Cameron, we're just about out of time. Give me a key player for Oklahoma State on each side of the ball tonight who you think could have an impact in the final outcome of this one.
I think on offense, it's got to be Justice Hill. He has not had sort of a breakout game. He's played well for the first 3 games for sure, but he has not had a game where you can just give him the ball and boom, he goes. I think he's going to be a key tonight because Texas Tech's defense, which was really high before the season, has not really shown up.
What defense? Haven't seen it.
So I think Justice Hill's going to have a big game. On defense, it's got to be probably Jordan Brailford. I mean, he's had an excellent season. He's tied for 5th in the country in sacks going into this game, but Texas Tech hasn't allowed a sack this entire season. If he can get in the backfield and cause some pressure for the true freshman quarterback, it's going to really benefit OSU's defense.
All right, Cameron, before you head over to the stadium, give me a score prediction. They going to score 100 between the two of them, or is it a little different than a typical Oklahoma State Tech matchup?
The weather's going to make the scoring a little higher than I thought about Wednesday this week, but I think OSU's going to come away with the victory. I think they're a little bit better on both sides of the football. I would say the final score is going to be about 52 to 38.
52-38. That's right outside the spread. Oklahoma State's favored by 13 points. Cameron, appreciate it. We look forward to having you on throughout the season. Myself and Donovan will be back when we come back. We'll talk a little bit about that Oklahoma State defense and Jim Knowles mixing it up on the other side. Later on, we've got buy or sell. We got a packed show for you, getting you ready for Oklahoma State and Texas Tech right here on your Oklahoma State franchise pregame show.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care. It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you. In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back to your Oklahoma State Franchise pregame show, brought to you by Seth Wadley Ford and Perry. Big thanks to Cameron Jordan, who does a lot of things for the franchise website. You can head over to thefranchiseok.com and check out some of his work, as well as all of our other Oklahoma State coverage. We're getting ready for Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Conference play is getting underway, and Donovan, we got more cookies. This week, Snickerdoodle, the weapon of choice. So we'll be diving into those in the next break. The cookies are becoming, at this point,
Pre-game tradition now, man.
At this point, when they don't show up, I'm going to say, what happened to the cookies? Where are the cookies? I can't do the rest of the show without my cookies, so we'll take a look at that. I just finished off last week's bag at the house, so somebody's going to have to come help us eat some more of these so that I don't have to put away all these cookies. But anyway, Colby Powell and Donovan Woods with you, getting ready for Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Conference play getting underway. It's, OU still got the one last non-conference game against Army, but as a player, when you go from non-conference to conference, do you prepare any differently? Like basically, I'm trying to figure out the mental side of it. You get into conference play, now you're trying to reach your goal of winning a conference championship. Does your preparation change? Do your thoughts change throughout the week? What's the difference mentally in flipping that switch from non-conference play to conference play?
There's some familiarity with your opponent, obviously playing them every year. But other than that, preparation is always at a high level. It didn't matter who we played. Coach Gundy always emphasized, and Coach Miles as well, you only get 12 guaranteed opportunities, or maybe 13 if you get an opportunity to go to a bowl game. But it's just one of those deals. It's so much work for so few opportunities. So you want to make sure that your preparation is always at a 10, and he always prepared us to do that, and we try to make sure that every time we went out there that we play at a high level. It didn't matter the opponent.
Right, and in conference play, you never know how it's going to shake out. If you're going to get the stronger teams in the conference earlier on, if you're going to get the weaker teams. This year, Oklahoma State gets Texas Tech first. And so you get, probably the most spread you out, run the most plays, sling it all over the lot team in the conference. No, they don't have as much talent on that side of the ball as a West Virginia and Oklahoma. But what they do have is a system that works. And a true freshman came in last week and threw for 605 yards against Houston. Houston just so happens to have the best player in the entire country on its defense in Ed Oliver, likely to be the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. So my questions are all for Jim Knowles and how he prepares for this Tech offense. Last week, it was a lot of blitzing. It was a lot of disguised blitzes. Calvin Bundage was all over the place. He was living in the backfield sometimes before the ball was snapped. We got to work on that. Make sure they snap it before you cross that imaginary line right there. But I really think that Oklahoma State's defense and Jim Knowles, I think they're going to dial it back a little bit. Tech has yet to give up a sack this season. They get the ball out so quickly. So if you bring 6 and they throw it like that, well, now you're in trouble because you don't have as many guys on the back end. If you bring 3 and they throw it like that, you don't get there, but you've got more coverage on the back end. How do you defend a team that throws the ball so quickly?
You play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and I think that's what we're going to see a lot of. We ran with Coach Knowles. He runs a lot more man-to-man coverage than Coach Spencer did. So that's something that I think will be an advantage for us because so much of what Texas Tech does is timing. And when you have that man-to-man coverage, those guys got to take that extra split second to beat the press. It can throw you off a little bit, makes you hold the ball a half a count more, and that can allow the defense to get a little bit better pressure. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a sack. It can just be moving the guy off of his spot. And that's going to be a big-time key for Oklahoma State today against Texas Tech.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Last week, that was as good of an all-around performance from the Oklahoma State defense as we've seen in, I really don't know. That 2011 team probably that was forcing turnovers all over the place. Since then, it's been some performances here, some performances there, but a lot of just kind of underwhelming Big 12 defense. That's a lot of what this conference has turned into. But a week ago, you look at both of Boise State's sustained scoring drives were long touchdown passes over the head of A.J. Green. One of them, he was burnt. The other one, he was in good coverage. The guy just made a fantastic one-handed catch. There's nothing you can do about that as a defender. But in terms of allowing Boise opportunities to run their offense the way they wanted to, they just weren't there. So my question for you, someone who's played on that side of the ball, when you have your absolute best defensive performance like Oklahoma State did a week ago, how hard is it to replicate that 7 days later?
It's going to be difficult, and I talked a little bit about carrying the quarterback in the offensive game plan. Coach Knowles did some things that he hadn't showed in those first couple of games that Boise State just wasn't prepared for, and you saw it with the kind of pressure that they were able to get. And when you can do that, obviously he showed a little bit more of his playbook in this last game against Boise State, and he'll show some more things today against Texas Tech because it's a different situation. So just throughout his years of coaching, he's been able to understand what works against this type of offense. Teams that get the ball out quick, teams that held the ball like Boise State did last week. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, the man coverage. I want to see how that disrupts Texas Tech and allows the defense to get a little bit more pressure and maybe even get a couple of sacks because Texas Tech hadn't been allowing them.
No,
hadn't been allowing them at all.
They have not. And, you know, last week, a good defensive performance equated to 21 on the board for Boise State. What's a good defensive performance against Tech? I mean, if they scored 35, could you call 35 a good defensive performance, or do you have to keep somebody under 30 in this conference for it to be considered a quote-unquote good defensive performance?
It depends on how many 3-and-outs you have, how many turnovers, things like that. But I think Texas Tech will score 35 points against anybody. And if you hold them under 35 points, you should definitely win this ball game going away. I think Oklahoma State, just because Texas Tech doesn't play much defense, to score north of 50 points today. And it's just one of those deals since they don't play defense, and it's looking like Oklahoma State is going to be able to play some defense this season, some big-time defense. Shouldn't be tough to hold them under 35 points.
Yeah, look, I think this one's going to be an Oklahoma State-Texas Tech classic. I think they're going to go out and score 90-plus points between the two of them because I think Tech's defense is just garbage. And I think that, I mean, offensively they can move the ball as we saw against Houston a week ago. But a guy who can have an impact on the defensive side of the ball is Calvin Bundage, who came out of Edmond Santa Fe. You know, you remember whenever he got to Oklahoma State, it's like everyone could see all that talent, but it just wasn't harnessed. It's like it was all this just wild, raw talent flying all over the place. Big hitter, couple of targeting ejections in his career at Oklahoma State. But it seems like now, look, I don't want to say he's completely under control. He did have 3 offside penalties a week ago, but he's not lowering the crown of his helmet and getting ejected from games. And he's where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there. He's not missing tackles. He's making big-time plays. And Calvin Bundage is a guy, you know, we all do these preseason all Big 12 teams defensively. He's a guy who wasn't on that list. He's got a chance to be on that postseason list because the guy's just a playmaker.
He is, and he's in the right situation. He's obviously athletic enough to play the safety position, but just being that hybrid type of guy, he's around 220 pounds, just having that explosiveness and that suddenness is really, in today's football game, really what you need, and he obviously has all of those attributes. And when you move him around, you put him in the box. One time he's at inside linebacker, then he's on the edge, then he's going in the A-gap. Credit to Coach Knowles for putting him in the right position to allow him to do what he does best, and that's just be disruptive. And, you know, he's obviously got to take care of the offsides penalties, but, you know, this is something, he's a junior now, correct?
He's a junior, yes.
I mean,
I believe he's a true junior.
He's a true junior. That's just something that you're going to have to understand because he's been doing that since he first stepped on the field. So that's just a part of his game. You understand that you take some good with some bad. And, you know, it kind of reminds me of Troy Polamalu and some of the things that he does during my time in Pittsburgh. He just show up. He's supposed to be playing cover 2 on the hash back here, and he's down there in the A-gap with Casey Hampton. But you just kind of understood, and that's on an extreme level. But that's...
Well, hold on, because I want to ask about that. A guy like that, who's just kind of a rover defensively, I mean, everyone has a place that they're supposed to be defensively, depending on what coverage you're in. But when you have a guy who's so talented and athletic, I mean, Polamalu obviously was one of those guys. You know, you see it, the plays, the famous plays, where he was... as the ball was being snapped. I mean, playing with a guy like that, how do the other defenders account for where that guy's going to be, or do you just do your job and let him do his thing?
You just do your job and let him do his thing. One of the first things they told all of these when we first got into minicamp, they told the safeties, don't watch Troy. because he's doing his own thing. And Coach Dick LeBeau, he understood that he was just a guy that was going to be disruptive to anybody's game plan. It wasn't just off the cuff. He did a ton of studying with Ryan Clark and Ike Taylor and all of those guys. I mean, they just had an understanding almost on a psychic level with one another, and he was just so talented and understood the game so much. When you talk about formations, when you talk about tendencies from offenses and stuff like that, he just had it all. And then when you talk about the physical attributes that he had, the explosiveness, the suddenness, the intelligence, it allowed him to be one of the greatest safeties that ever played the game. And it was a pleasure for me to watch him and to see it. I mean, when he would go and do scout team stuff and go against the offense, Coach Tomlin would just kick him out of the drill because he'd be so disruptive to being in San Antonio and those guys that he just disrupted everything because he just understood the game to a level that not a lot of people do. And I think Calvin Bundage has some of those things. When you talk about the explosiveness and the versatility, he's special, and Coach Knowles is allowing him to be that in this defense.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's allowing him to maximize his potential, which is all you can ask with a guy like Calvin Bundage. How did Polamalu time those snaps? How did he know exactly when that ball was going to be snapped to jump over the center? That fascinated me. Familiarity,
tendencies. I mean, Casey Hampton and Troy would just watch the snap count and where the offensive linemen put their hands and where the offensive guard put their hand on their hips when it was a run. It was so detailed, and you hear about these types of things, but in the NFL, everybody is fast, everybody is strong. No one is doing something that you can't duplicate on film. So it's really those small details, those inches, that really give you an edge. And during my time in Pittsburgh, I got the chance to see some of the best guys do it.
Yeah, he was unbelievable and incredibly fun to watch. Donovan Woods, Colby Powell here on your Oklahoma State franchise pregame. Donovan, how are you feeling about these young corners for Oklahoma State a couple weeks in? Like I mentioned, A.J. Green gave up a couple touchdowns last week. He had the opportunity to give up another touchdown against South Alabama, but the quarterback couldn't put the ball where it needed to be. Some big corners for Oklahoma State. They clearly have some talent, but I feel like I'm just waiting for it to click and put it all together to where they're keeping their man in front of them and not giving up these chunk yardages over their heads. Still young guys, but they played every game as true freshmen. Now they're back as sophomores. What's your take on the young corners in Oklahoma State?
I feel good. I think to me, in these first couple of games, they've graded out as a B. And just to let all you Oklahoma State fans know, this will not be the last time that you see A.J. Green and Rodarius Williams give up a deep pass in Boone Pickens Stadium. It'll probably happen a couple of more times throughout the season, but here's the deal. That's okay.
Is that by design in the defense?
That is by design. They play a lot more zero coverage and man coverage without any safety help. Two high safeties cover two.
And let's clarify for people real quick. When I say giving up touchdowns over your head is by design, what I mean is instead of playing 8 yards off and backpedaling and keeping everything in front and giving up little dink and dunk plays all the way down the field, you're taking all those away and saying, look, if you're going to beat me once or twice over my head, that's okay, but you're not going to get all this underneath stuff.
Right, and that happens. That's going to happen. That's kind of the design of some of the things that Coach Knowles does. And so far, I mean, Boise State, that quarterback was a heck of a player, and he put the ball there, and their receivers made some plays. And you'll see this quarterback from Texas Tech do some of those things today with those big wide receivers on the outside. But they'll have an opportunity to make some plays, and they'll make their share of plays. Anytime you're as aggressive as Oklahoma State has been playing, especially here early on, you're going to give up some plays, but you also give yourself a chance to make a lot more stops and have an opportunity for a lot more turnovers as well.
Absolutely. Looking forward to watching the Oklahoma State defense against a high-powered offense with Texas Tech today. Let's take a break, come back on the other side. Talk about the Oklahoma State offense. We learned some things about Cornelius last week, but, Tyler Wallace may be emerging as the top target for this team, and it's tonight the night that we finally see Justice Hill absolutely get loose. We'll talk about all that and much, much more. Stay right here on your Oklahoma State Franchise Pregame Show.
passion is teaching and traveling. In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. I just wasn't. One day in here, I put my foot down and I took 2 steps. And then we took 2 more steps. And before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
How are you doing?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom. School's going good.
Only slept through 1 class so far.
College was really fun for one day.
First day, crushed it.
Hi, Mom. I miss you. I already got called a high school kid. They're like, are you sure you want college? I'm like, yes, here we go.
I miss home a lot, but college is also really fun. More fun than home.
Hey, Mom, it's me. And I'm not dropped out yet, and my professors haven't kicked me out, and I was only late to 1 class.
Love you. On my heart. Guy. Thank you. Hey, Mom. Good to see you. Love you to pieces. Miss you already.
We're making it. We're still alive. No worries. First day of school. Woo! First day of class was brutal.
妈妈现在好，就是我现在是在我 OSU 的第2个学期，然后一切都很好，完成了我的实习，我接下来要开启我的第2段旅程，一切顺利。Go Bucks.
Hi, Mom. I'm studying hard. Don't worry. Going to class.
I just finished my first 2 classes today, and I'm done for the rest of the day.
Hi, Mom. Happy early birthday. You should be proud of me. I came to class.
Hi, Mom. I'll call you later.
Miss you.
You're the bomb.
Miss you, Mom.
Miss you back home.
Miss you.
I miss you. Love you, Mama.
Perfect.
There we go.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back to your Oklahoma State Franchise pregame show. Snickerdoodles. Ooh,
Man.
I'm ready for kickoff now.
Championship level cookies from Mrs. Powell there. I mean, big time, man.
If things start to go south tonight, we just need to go start throwing these down on the sideline. That would get anybody energized and ready to go. Donovan, this Oklahoma State offense, they come out last week, and Cameron mentioned it earlier. There were 2 block punts. One of them was blocked and returned for a touchdown. The other one was blocked inside the 10-yard line, immediately led to a touchdown. So let's take the block punts out of the equation. The 30 points that this offense scored via sustained drives, via a couple of nice Matt Amendola field goals, including a 48-yarder. Oklahoma State really dominated all aspects of special teams last week. You know, people look at the 2 block punts. Boise also missed a short field goal, and Amendola cashed a 48-yarder. He's become really reliable. But this Oklahoma State offense, I think it answered some questions. I think the question for me still for the Oklahoma State offense is, let's say Texas Tech comes out and scores 45 points tonight. Can this offense be capable of putting up 50-plus against, you know, a conference opponent? Not against the Missouri State, not against the South Alabama, because they played well last week against Boise. Offense didn't need to put up 50-plus. The defense was unbelievable. When the defense has an off night, can this offense put up 50-plus? That's really my only question that I have left to be answered.
I think so, and you do that by getting the ball out to Justice Hill and Chuba Hubbard, and you mentioned it a little bit before the break. Tylan Wallace looked like he's a #1 type receiver, and you still got Johnson out there, and I'm still waiting on Dylan Stoner and McCleskey to have those big games that you know that they're capable of having. But I think this team is capable.
Stoner had a nice touchdown last week.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And
he turned on the Jets, man.
He's fast, man.
Yeah.
He's a better athlete. You know, you talk about the stuff that he did in track, and he's one of those guys that did everything. I think it was for Jinx, and Coach Glass was really impressed. He was one of the guys that when I go in and talk to Coach Glass and Joel Tubman and some of those guys, strength and conditioning, that came in right away and was able to do those top-level workouts. So he's a guy that has the ability, has the juice, as some people like to say, and still waiting on him to have some even bigger games because he's definitely capable.
Yeah, he definitely is. I actually was on the broadcast for his last career game at Jinx. It was a state title game against Tulsa Union, and this dude was everywhere, did everything. He was the quarterback, he was defensive back, he was the punter, he was the punt returner, he was the kick returner. I mean, when I say he was the holder, I mean, when I say he did it, there was not a football play in that game that he was on the bench for. He played every play, offense, defense, and special teams, the entire game, which is pretty special, especially at that level. You know, Jinx Union and Broken Arrow, they've all got so many guys. To have a guy play every snap of the game on all 3 phases, that's a pretty special player that Oklahoma State's got now.
Absolutely, and I can remember him running a little quarterback or jet sweep type action when he was a freshman. So he came in ready to play. Obviously, want to get a little bit bigger and a little bit more physical, but he's shown that he can hold up to the wear and tear of big-time college football, and expecting a huge day from him today because the way Texas Tech scores the ball, the way that they get it out quick, it's going to be a ton of plays, both offensively and defensively, and they'll need to be sharp, and they'll need him to be sharp as well.
Yeah, they definitely will, and I think that he will, but he's usually been pretty reliable for his time in Oklahoma State. His freshman season, he actually lost most of that season due to an injury, but he's played really well whenever he's been on the field. You look at some of those guys on the edge, we talked about it. Tylan Wallace has really I think he's starting to establish himself as a #1 guy for this Oklahoma State team. I kind of thought that was going to be Tyron Johnson, but after I've watched Tylan Wallace for a few games, the guy's really impressive. He's really good at high pointing the football, something James Washington was always unbelievable at. You know, James Washington was 5'11", going on 6'4" because of the way he could high point the football. Tylan Wallace has a little bit of that. Crisp route runner, good hands, doesn't drop anything. And the most important thing, I think he and Cornelius have that chemistry that you like between a quarterback and a #1 receiver. When Cornelius needs a play made, he's looking Tylan Wallace's direction.
And it could be something to that. You know, he worked on that second-team unit last year, and obviously Cornelius was the backup, so they have a rapport, if you will. And one of the things that Oklahoma State has shown, and some people are figuring out as well, is you don't have to be, you love for a guy to be 6'4", 6'5", that can go up and get the football like a Marcel Aitman, but you can just have big-time ability like a James Washington and some of those guys who can just go up and get the football. And Oklahoma State does such a good job of teaching the jump ball. It's not a jump ball for Oklahoma State University. It is a meticulous process and an understanding of where that football should be, where you should be as a receiver, and where you have to put that ball at the quarterback position. And that's one of the reasons why Oklahoma State continues to have big-time receivers time after time after time, is because they put them, coaching-wise, in the correct position to make those plays.
Yeah, absolutely they do. And yeah, everybody would love to have a Marcel Laitman. He was a special player. He won in that Iowa State game last year with some of those catches he made in the end zone.
He went up and just, it looked like
he mossed him.
He mossed them. There it is.
That's exactly
there
what
it is.
Yeah, it was a pretty special group that Oklahoma State had a year ago. And we're still watching this year's group kind of take shape. And obviously, since Taylor Cornelius is a fifth-year senior, we'll have exactly 1 year to watch these guys kind of take shape. But Tyler Wallace, he's going to be around for a while. Tyler Wallace, now he didn't get a red shirt a year ago. He still got it in the bag, theoretically, if they would ever want to use it. I don't think they will. I think that he's going to be a guy who's going to play as long as he's healthy for Oklahoma State. A wrinkle to this offense that I think we've seen more of in the past than we have lately, a little Cowboy back. Is that something that you think we see going on throughout the season? Or, are the athletes at the skill position just so good, there are only so many touches to go around, and we got to get these guys the ball? So the Cowboy back, I feel like, has worked its way a little bit out of this offensive system at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and it'll come back, and especially anytime you can have a big-time guy at that Cowboy back, it really helps you in the run game. And when you can slip out of there on some naked bootlegs, and we call them Bostons and stuff like that, it's just one of those deals. It's always good to have a guy that has the ability to do that. And whether it's a true fullback or a guy like a Brandon Pettigrew or someone like that, it's a place for those guys in any type of offense. You just have to find their role within it. And the Cowboy back hasn't been used as much, but don't just throw it away, because it'll come back probably game 5 or game 6, and it'll be a guy like Jelani Woods, making a big-time play up the seam, or making a big-time block for Justice Hill or something like that. It just depending on the game plan, it determines how much you use that type of athlete.
Yeah, it does. We talk about the guys that have to get the ball in their hands. I mean, it's Justice Hill, J.D. King, Chuba Hubbard, Tyler Wallace, Tyron Johnson, Jalen McCleskey, Dylan Stoner. Jelani Woods is getting touches in the tight end position. You got a guy like Chuba Hubbard. You'd love to get him more touches. I don't know where they come from. I really don't. I mean, look, Taylor Cornelius had 16 rushing attempts a week ago. I doubt he's going to have 16 rushing attempts in a game again this season. Even if they use the quarterback run game, I don't think they want to use it to the tune of 16 carries a game for Taylor Cornelius. So maybe his touches come from there, but with so many guys who are good with the ball in their hands, there are only so many touches to go around. Somebody's going to have to be the odd man out week in and week out. Yeah, and it's tough, but that's when you put on your team hat and you play without the football. I talked a little bit about it last week, and these guys are fast, they're physical. You know that they're not afraid of contact. They can be valuable special teams guys and be devastating blockers at that receiver position, motioning those guys out there, catching balls in the flat and stuff like that. So it's still a lot of football to be played for those guys, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with the football in their hand. It's really beneficial to the team overall, and it shows an unselfishness for you, for guys who are looking at you at the next level, because I think all of those guys will get an opportunity just with their physical skill set. And that's something that those coaches and scouts will be looking at when they get a chance to play at the next level. Yeah, no doubt. That's Donovan Woods. I am Colby Powell. We're going to take a break. We've got 2 more quick segments. We're going to do buy or sell. We're going to take a quick look around the conference once again, see how Texas and TCU are faring, and then we're going to give you our predictions for Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. So come back. We've still got a lot to get to right here on your Oklahoma State Franchise Pregame Show.
have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients. That translates into patient care. It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you. In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back to your Oklahoma State franchise pregame show. We're hanging out in the break, and we are listening to the I'm a Man, I'm 40 rant. 11 years ago today.
Wow.
I didn't even realize, a couple things I didn't realize. One, it was 11 years ago today. Two, I forgot that my co-host here got name dropped in the rant. To say we did it because of Donovan Woods, that ain't true. It's, I mean, that went all over the place. You got name dropped all over the internet, all over Sports Center, ESPN. What was that like being on that team when that happened? And then it just, I mean, it exploded.
It did, and it really kind of took on a life of its own. And an unfortunate situation for Bobby and for really kind of for everyone involved, you know. But Coach Gundy's standing up for his guys, man. He really believes that. I mean, he showed it. And that passion for his players, I mean, those are his guys. I mean, we were his guys during that time, and the guys that are in that locker room going out and preparing week in and week out. Coach Gundy cares about those guys, and you build a relationship with those guys, recruiting them, and it's important to you. So I and probably everyone else that went into a press conference and didn't expect for it to turn into something like that, but obviously when you get going and things escalate to that point, it can kind of take on a life of its own, and that's what it did. 11 years ago today, you know, we're still talking about it. So
I cannot imagine if that happened today in today's modern social media, Twitter landscape, it would dominate Twitter for a week. It would shut Twitter down.
It was I think Shannon Sharp had it on his deal of not not top 10 or something like that. I remember, man, it was a huge deal.
40.
Huge deal,
so that
man.
puts Gundy at what, 51 now? Getting a little long in the tooth there, Mike.
He is.
I guess, I mean, he still ain't afraid to go shirtless. We know that. He'll rip it off any time, any old time. All right, it's time now, as we do every week, the official sheet. Let's get a clean look here. Buy or sell. Actually, just write B or S at the top. I'm not too lazy to write buy or sell. I just never do. B or S at the top. Buy or sell. The records right now, basically Donovan is looking to become the Cleveland Browns this week. And when I say that, what I mean is Donovan's looking to become 1-1-1. Because Donovan is 0-1-1 right now, a loss and a tie. I'm 1-0-1. No losses on the schedule. That's how we're going to try to keep it. I'm like the John Marshall Bears. No losses. Except y'all aren't tying people either. Y'all are putting up 80. So, all right. First one. Last week, I had this same number. But the offense looked a little different last week. Boise could play a little bit defensively. I'm not sure that Texas Tech can. So, buying or selling that Taylor Cornelius throws for more than 320 yards.
I'm going to buy that today, and I think it'll be just 100-plus snaps for each team. And I think with that many snaps, there'll be more opportunities. There'll be some big plays in there. And Tech hadn't stopped anybody all year. So, expecting over 320 this game for him.
I'm looking at how many he threw for. Last week it was 15 of 26 for 243, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. 26 attempts a week ago. I think he probably gets north of 30 in this game against Texas Tech. But I also think Justice Hill, he had 15 carries a week ago. I mean, against the Texas Tech defense, I'm anticipating more than 15 carries for Justice Hill. I'm selling 320 on Cornelius. I think he's going to be in the 280 to 300 range. I don't think he gets all the way up to 320. It's a lot of passing yards. All right, last week, Justice Hill ran the ball for 123 yards against Boise State, but that was aided by a 53-yard rush. So on the other 14, if you take that one away, he ran the ball for 70 yards on his other 14 carries, which is a 5-yard per clip carry. So Justice Hill, buy or sell, he runs for more than 130 yards.
Talk about the opportunities again, and you couple that with the fact that I think he's the best running back in the Big 12. I'm going to say Justice Hill more than 130.
You're a buyer. Brought your money today. He's a buyer. I'm a buyer. I saved my money on the first one on Cornelius so I could spend it on Justice Hill. I'm spending all of it on Justice Hill. I think there's a decent chance for Justice Hill to go 200-plus in this game. That's just kind of how little I think of Texas Tech defensively. There's not really – I was trying to get a gauge for it by looking at what Houston did a week ago in the running game, but it's hard to get a real feel for it. They don't have one guy who's just going to go out and get all the carries. They had a 6 for 61, 14 for 54, 11 for 47, 4 for 25. So they were splitting their carries much more evenly than I think Oklahoma State's going to. I think Justice has between 20 and 22 carries, and I think he could approach 200 yards rushing in this game.
I'm right there with you.
Let's move out to this wide receiver core. Tylan Wallace. I said a good number on Tylan last week. Last week I had the number on Tylan at 110, and the whole fourth quarter I thought I had it won. I thought I had it in the bag because I thought I put the number at 100. And he finished the game with 105 receiving yards. That's why we tied, because I put the number in the wrong spot. This week, I'm putting the number in the exact right spot because we're anticipating a little more offense from the Oklahoma State Cowboys. You buying or selling Tylan Wallace has more than 120 receiving yards in this game?
I'm buying that. I think he gets to go route early in the first half. And like I said, the opportunities. Tech throws the ball so much. And I think Oklahoma State, Cornelius should have north of 30 attempts today. So with that, it'll be some big plays in there, and I think Wallace will be a part of it.
If I'm selling Cornelius getting over 320, I think I kind of have to sell Tylan Wallace getting over 120. Because like we talked about, there's just too many places for the football to go. Tylan Wallace very well could come out and have, 2 weeks ago, 166 receiving yards. He could replicate that against Tech. He could also come out, and tonight could be the night where they send coverage his direction, and he's the odd man out, and he has 37 yards receiving. Because that's, I think, the way this offense is going to operate most of the season. So I'm selling Tylan Wallace having more than 120 receiving yards. Let's move on to, it's not a Darius Bowman, it's his cousin. It's Alan Bowman. Not related at all. I don't think they're related. They could be for all I know. Darius is up in Canada, so he's not watching anyway. We're not worried about it. Alan Bowman, more than 420 passing yards. Buy or sell. 605 a week ago against the Houston Cougars, but I'm not setting the number at 600. That would be crazy. He's a true freshman. He isn't doing that twice in a row. He's not at home in the confines of Lubbock. By yourself, Alan Bowman throws for more than 420 yards.
I think for as much progress as Oklahoma State defense has made in these first couple of games, to give up 420 yards plus would be a step back.
Rippon threw it for 360 last week for Boise.
Yeah, and he's a heck of a quarterback. He's been through the fire. I think we'll be able to get some pressure on this young kid. Even though they haven't given up any sacks, I think he'll hold the ball, being on the road. He'll get probably right around that 370, 380 number, but I don't think it'll balloon to 420 plus. So I'm going to go ahead and sell that.
Sell him 420.
Yeah.
I think I've got a pretty good number there.
I think so too.
I think it's going to be close, because here's the thing about the Oklahoma State defense. They can stop the run. Those boys up front are not going to let you run the football. Boise State, they were trying to establish the run in the first quarter. It was scoreless at the end of the first, and early in the second quarter, Boise State decided, you know what? We just cannot run the football on these guys. We're going to have to completely abandon it and change our course of direction. They end up throwing the ball 55 times. I don't think Texas can be able to run the ball. I think they're going to have to throw it 60 times. I still don't think they're quite getting to 420. That's a lot of. I'm selling 420. I think he gets north of 400 though. I think he falls in that 400 to 420 range. I think that's a pretty good number with how much they're going to be forced to throw it. And then this last one's my favorite prop bet of the day. Oklahoma State leads the country in sacks. Texas Tech hasn't given up a sack. They throw it like that. The ball hits his hands and it's already out. It's an entire offense built on hot routes is what it is. Buy or sell, the OSU defense has more than one sack. I think they can get to one. I'm not going to say they have a sack, but buy or sell, they get more than one sack.
I'm going to buy that as well. Just like the 420 number, Oklahoma State defense has shown a lot of life in these first couple of games, and I think there'll be some opportunities there. Even with as efficient as the quarterback Bowman has been getting the football out, I think he'll see some looks today. He'll see some man coverage today that he hasn't seen from the previous couple of games that he's played. And holding that football, he'll make some mistakes today, and I think it'll be good for this Oklahoma State defense.
Yeah, I think he will make some mistakes. I think that the Texas Tech coaches, they've probably had to prepare him for more pressure. But again, it's not like Houston's a pushover. Ed Oliver's on that defense. Ed Oliver can seriously get after it. Now, so can Calvin Bundage and Jordan Brailford and Justin Phillips and Jarrell Owens. Well, I was going to sell. I'm almost talking myself into buying because I list the names off.
He'll make some throws today where it'll make that Texas Tech, just from the pressure alone, it'll make that Texas Tech coaching staff scratch their head and say, where the heck were you throwing that football? Because I guarantee you, he just hadn't seen enough. He just hasn't had enough experience to go out there in a hostile environment, which Stillwater, Oklahoma will be for him today, and go out and make a good decision on every opportunity that he has. So he'll make some head-scratching plays today, and it'll be good for this Oklahoma State defense.
Yeah, they get rid of it so quickly. I'm selling more than one sack. I think they get one, but man, they get rid of the ball quick.
I'm winning by a sell today. I'm confident.
Hey, you got to at some point. You got to regress to the mean at some point, all right? All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. One more quick segment. We're going to take a look around the Big 12. We're going to
when you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care. It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.
Everybody cares what's happening to me and that I'm making progress and I'm gaining my freedom back and my mobility back. This patient is saying thank you. In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Welcome back to your Oklahoma State franchise pregame show. Colby, Powell, Donovan Woods hanging out here, about to wrap things up from the garage in Stillwater, getting ready for Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. I do want to take a quick look at the Big 12 because there are some other conference games getting started today as the Big 12 begins conference play. And one of those, West Virginia and Kansas State. West Virginia's coming off of an impromptu bye week because Hurricane Florence, the game against NC State, couldn't be played. Let's see. Let's see in the Big 12. I've got Big 12 pulled up, and they got Alabama A&M on here. Alabama and A&M. A&M left the Big 12, ESPN, try to keep up. 35-6, West Virginia leading Kansas State. That's an old bully beatdown in the Big 12. 6 points?
West Virginia is a good football team, and like you said, Kansas State, it's taking them some time to get things going, but they'll upset somebody here. It's not going to be West Virginia today, but we know from experience that they'll have it together, so yeah, they'll be fine.
They'll figure something out. I tell you what, good for West Virginia getting them early in the season, because later in the season, they're going to have things a little more figured out, I think. Baylor leading Kansas 26-7 in the fourth quarter. No big surprises there. Kansas's winning streak is going to come to an end, which is sad to see. Kind of pull for the Hawks. There's a little underdog factor there. Also, I kind of enjoy rooting against Baylor. I wish they would have lost that game.
I'm right there with you. But, yeah, Kansas, they had a little bit of momentum, and they probably were bringing out the old Orange Bowl rally towels once again. But, you know, they'll drop this one, but they built some momentum, and got some confidence. So expect Kansas to make a run at maybe Texas or some of those other teams at the bottom half of the Big 12 and continue the success that they had these previous weeks.
And then the big one happening in Austin right now, and this one's got some serious Big 12 implications to it. TCU leads Texas 16-10 in the third quarter. Texas has the ball. They're deep in their own territory at their own 22-yard line. So it's not like they're driving or anything, but Texas is hanging around just enough that this game could get interesting in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it could. And you know Texas has the athletes. Obviously, with the success TCU has been able to sustain, you know they have the athletes too. But I would, just to kind of mix things up, you know, we got October coming up, Halloween, all of that stuff. Go ahead and throw a wrench in the Big 12, Texas, and beat TCU. Why not?
I couldn't agree more.
Why
I could
not?
not agree more. If Texas wins that game, I think the conference becomes a lot more fun.
It does.
Now you throw Texas in there, and then we're all talking about how good is TCU. First, I don't think Sean Robinson's very good. I think he has a propensity to turn the ball over. We'll see if that continues. All right, game behind us in Boone Pickens Stadium. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. Both coming off biggest wins of the season. Obviously, Oklahoma State 44-21 over Boise, and then Texas Tech 63-49 over the Houston Cougars. 112 points were scored in that game. The over/under in this one is 78. 78, that's a 38-30, no it's not, that's a 42-35 roughly football game. That would be 77. So that's about where Vegas has it. Your score prediction, Donovan Woods, and well, I haven't been keeping record of the score predictions. This week I'm keeping the record so that we can know if one of us calls it right on the money.
That can be the tie for bias.
That can be the tiebreaker.
There you go. I'm going to say Oklahoma State 52, Texas Tech 35. Going back and picking that number, expect them to stay under that 35 number. I think this Oklahoma State defense is better. And, you know, it's not one of those things that, you know, I'm just getting excited about. I think Boise State was a good team. They'll score some points, they'll rack up some yards, but I don't think it'll be near as much as they've done in these previous weeks. And I think this Oklahoma State defense is for real.
All right, give me 49-38 in favor of the Cowboys. I think they score a lot of points, and I think Oklahoma State pulls away in the fourth quarter. All right, we're ready for kickoff in Boone Pickens Stadium. We'll be back after the game right here on Cox Channels 93 and 1334. So make sure you come back with us here in about 4.5 hours when this Pass Fest finally gets over, and we'll wrap this thing up right back here. For Donovan Woods, for our entire crew, doing a great job as always, I'm Colby Powell. Thank you for watching your Oklahoma State Franchise Pregame Show.
Travel. My passion is teaching and traveling. In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. I just wasn't. One day in here, I put my foot down and I took 2 steps. And then we took 2 more steps. And before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
How are you doing?
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom. School's going good.
Only slept through 1 class so far.
College was really fun for one day.
First day, crushed it.
Hi, Mom. I miss you. I already got called a high school kid. They're like, are you sure you want college? I'm like, yes, here we go.
I miss home a lot, but college is also really fun, more fun than home.
Hey, Mom, it's me. And I'm not dropped out yet, and my professors haven't kicked me out, and I was only late to 1 class.
Love you. On my heart. You guy. Thank you.
Hey, Mom. Good to see you. Love you to pieces. Miss you already.
We're making it. We're still alive. No worries. First day of school. Woo! First day of class was brutal.
妈妈现在好，就是我现在是在我 OSU 的第2个学期，然后一切都很好，完成了我的实习，我接下来要开启我的第2段旅程，一切顺利。Go Folks.
Hi, Mom. I'm studying hard. Don't worry. Going to class.
I just finished my first 2 classes of the day, and I'm done for the rest of the day.
Hi, Mom. Happy early birthday. You should be proud of me. I came to class.
Hi, Mom. I'll call you later.
Miss you.
You're the bomb.
Miss you, Mom.
Miss you back home.
Miss you.
I miss you. Love you, Mama.
Perfect. There we go.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
In my mind, I was never going to walk right again. Before we were through, we had walked 23 steps. And that was my first steps of freedom. This patient is saying thank you.
Hey y'all, we're gonna start our game trivia called How Loyal and True of a Fan Are You? And today we have with us, what's y'all's names?
Jason. Alan.
All right, Jason and Alan, let's see who has the better knowledge of OSU versus Tech football trivia, okay? First question. What year did OSU and Texas Tech play their first football game against each other?
88.
88?
Yeah.
76. You got to think a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
First game they ever played against each other was 1935.
Oh. Been a minute?
It's been a hot minute.
All right. It's been a hot minute.
I just didn't want to steal the thunder.
Because you knew. Yeah, she did. No.
All right, guys, next question. How many times have these two teams played against each other since 1935?
60 times?
60?
22.
All right, 60 and 22. One was low and one was high. You had to meet in the middle at 45. All right.
Yeah, you got it.
You want to do one?
Yeah, hang on. Do we have to switch? Should we switch mics for it?
Oh,
no, I don't think
no,
so.
You're good, I'll do it.
Okay. So, who came first, the Midnight Matador or Bullet?
The Midnight Matador.
Yeah,
Y'all were right. It was the Midnight Matador, unfortunately.
All right, y'all got one, so it's not like a complete embarrassment yet, right?
Right.
We're on the right track.
I'm halfway embarrassed for sure.
Halfway?
Yeah.
How about you?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
All right, you're not a complete failure, so like keep your head up. Just kidding.
She keeps throwing that out.
I'm not hating. Just have love. All right, ready. In 1988, which OSU running back won the Heisman Trophy hours before kickoff against Texas Tech?
Right here. Barry Sanders.
Right there. Good old Barry Sanders.
All right, there it is. We got two of them. We got two questions.
Two.
We got it. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
If I got it wrong,
I'm paying attention more to the brain probably than I am to the shirt. That's what I'm focused on.
Okay.
All right, you got some?
Okay, let's see here. Okay, let's do a little easy one. What is Oklahoma State ranked this week? 15. They said we couldn't do it.
It was an easy one though.
That was an easy one. Do you think we should crank it up a little bit?
Let's do it.
Let's crank it up.
We got OSU pride right here. I know y'all got this.
Okay, now let's bring our favorite coach in. Let's bring Gundy in. What is Gundy's mullet's name?
Oh my, Mullet has a name? Squirrel.
I have no idea. Squirrel.
Squirrel? Did you?
Going with Squirrel? Is that okay? Squirrel.
Squirrel. His name's Squirrel.
Kentucky Waterfall.
You were close. You were close. It's actually the Arkansas waterfall, but you were so close.
Arkansas Waterfall.
Arkansas waterfall.
So close. I want Bill Ray
It was closer. The state was close to us, but it's all right. You had the right idea, which I respect.
Yeah, it was there. Everything was there. Just wrong state. That's okay. I like Kentucky better than Arkansas anyway.
So maybe we can give them like a half a point for that, right?
Yeah, something along that.
The real name of a mullet is a Kentucky waterfall, right? So
Yeah, it's the real name. He just has a
he's
modern
making
name.
stuff up.
Yeah, Bill Ray
Hey,
had it first.
this is Gundy's world, and we're all just living in it. Gundy can make up whatever he wants. Exactly. Gundy can do Gundy shit.
All right. and last question. I think it's an easy one, right? Who's gonna come out on top today?
OSU. Go Pokes.
Amen.
Go Pokes, you heard it here.
Determining your future by selecting a major can be difficult.
It's okay to be undecided.
Connect with the College of Arts and Sciences, where your options are endless.
Where you can uncover your passions and achieve your goals.
Express your creativity by exploring a career in the visual and performing arts.
Investigate new discoveries to make the world a better place with a career in science.
Advance knowledge, communicate progress, and contribute to a healthier planet with a career rooted in the social sciences.
Discover your career by looking at the world from different perspectives through the humanities.
Realize a better tomorrow through problem solving and mining data that can change lives.
CAS prepares you to succeed through internships, study abroad, student-guided research projects, and service activities.
With 109 majors, 52 minors, and 24 departments, the only thing missing is you. College of Arts and Sciences.
Connect.
Achieve. Succeed.
When you have a team of physicians and nurses that really truly care about their patients, that translates into patient care. It's a small practice, it's a small town. Everybody really takes that time to put the patient first.